Peace, family. Y'all know who it is. It's Bakari Lumumba. Back at it once again, the progenitor of LumumbaSpeaks.com, a Black empowerment initiative where we believe we can gain a competitive advantage by always betting on Black. I know I haven't been around in these YouTube streets the way I typically am, but we're back and we're going to have a great show. I hope regarding where I'm going to be doing my movie review of Creed 3. You know, it's the blockbuster film. I think it was the number one film in the country. In fact, starring, of course, Jonathan Majors and Michael B. Jordan, and as he's reprising his role as Adonis Creed. This is, of course, is an offshoot of the Rocky movie series. So we're talking about Creed 3 movie review, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Definitely want you all to tap in and be part of the conversation. I believe the link is in the description. In the link, of course, I'll put the link in the chat. But before we get started, first and foremost, want to share with you all today's daily Black History Fact. As you all know, here at Lumumba Speaks, we are a Black empowerment initiative where we believe we could get a competitive advantage by always betting on Black. And with that being said, we believe in, of course, Black History 24/7, 365. We know that Dr. Carter G. Woodson, put some respect on Dr. Carter G. Woodson's name, who was considered by many to be the father of Black history. Of course, he created Negro History Week back in the 1920s. And of course, in 1976, it became Black History Month. But he argued that Black history should be studied, of course, 24/7, 365, right, throughout the year, but there should be an intensification, of course, during February, right? So just something that we need to consider. I think this is, of course, consumerate or tantamount to if one is a Muslim. You're a Muslim, what, 365, 24/7, 365, but during the holy month of Ramadan, there is an intensification of what one's morals and values and principles that are, of course, synonymous to submitting and being a practitioner of Islam. The same can be said if one was a Christian. You're a Christian, you should be, of course, 24/7, 365. That's what you're into. But we see an intensification, I would dare say, during, of course, what? Passover, Easter, Christmas, so on and so forth. Lent, right, for example. So just something to be cognizant of. But today's Black History Fact, of course, is a rather, well, took place 97 years ago, right? 97 years ago today, Reverend Ralph David Abernathy Sr. was born on March 11th, 1926 in Linden, Alabama. He was a Baptist minister, civil rights leader, an associate and close friend, of course, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. As many know, they worked together in the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, also known as the SCLC. Reverend Abernathy acquired the leadership of the SCLC Poor People's Campaign after Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s death or assassination, and was a leader of the SCLC and Poor People's March on Washington, D.C. He served as the president of SCLC for 9 years. Abernathy transitioned to the realm of the ancestors on April 17, 1990 in Atlanta, Georgia, at the age of 64. So wanted to, of course, share today's Black History Fact regarding that on this day, 97 years ago, right? March 11th, 1926, in the good heart of Dixie, state known as Alabama, Reverend Ralph Abernathy was born. Of course, many people would argue as a Pan-Africanist, as someone who is a promoter and practitioner of not only developing and gaining Black power, but sustaining Black power. Why would you advocate and, of course, discuss an integrationist, right? And I would argue that Dr. King understood this, and even Frederick Douglass, right, that the means and the ideology may have been different, but these were individuals who oftentimes, not only did they sacrifice their lives for the commitment and the betterment of African people, but oftentimes they made the ultimate sacrifice, right? And so with that being said, I want to make sure I put respect in all those who were part of that Black radical tradition of audacious self-assertion. So definitely want to always respect anyone who is willing to do that. Number two, as you all know, we have some housekeeping we have to do here at Lumumba Speaks. So we just want to go over the ground rules before we get the conversation started. First and foremost, we welcome diversity of thought. So you can have a dissenting opinion. That is no problem whatsoever, right? We welcome diversity of thought. I believe having individuals of dissenting opinions helps create a more robust and intellectually stimulating conversation, right? I don't want to have conversations within a particular echo chamber. I don't think that accomplishes much. Number two, no racial epithets of any kind can be used on my channel, on my platform. irrespective of one's geopolitical location, ideology, background, sexual orientation, or whatever. This is a space of Black empowerment. We believe in the 3 N's of Black power, which first and foremost is self-respect, and of course self-defense, and to be self-determining, or self-defining, as many people would argue or state. So no racial epithets of any kind can be used, right? Number 3, facts over feelings. What do I mean by that? Oftentimes when we're having some heated conversations on some rather provocative issues, hot button issues, as many would argue, what we oftentimes contend to find in our community is individuals will start to attack the person rather than the argument. But that's where facts over feelings come in, and we want to attack the argument and not the person, right? We don't want to make this personal. We want to make it political. We can make it value-oriented, so on and so forth, but we want to attack the argument and not the person. Then, of course, last but not least, cannot make any fundamentally false statements. I would give an example. Once again, diversity of thought is welcome. So I always use an example of the great debate between, of course, LeBron James and Michael Jordan. You could believe whoever you want to believe is the better basketball player. Hey, I don't give a damn. I'm still going to sleep well at night. But if you were to make the claim that Michael Jordan only won 1 championship, right? Then, right, or LeBron James was never the best player in the league. Those are claims that are patently false. And I would then take umbrage with what you have, what you're articulating. And I would, of course, have to give you a reprieve from speaking. And then, of course, last but not least, this disclaimer, I'm going to put this disclaimer out. That is, here at Lumumba Speaks, our mission is neither to exonerate or vilify, right? So all we want to do is simply challenge conventional wisdom and re-examine what has previously been accepted as fact. I'll say that one more time. Our mission is neither to exonerate or vilify, but to challenge conventional wisdom and re-examine what has been accepted as fact. So with that being said, we've gone over the ground rules. We discussed our mission statement. And so I'm going to put the link in the chat, family. Once again, the link should be in the description. And we're going to discuss Creed 3, my movie review, the good, the bad, and of course the ugly. So the link is going in the chat, family. But you all can let me know if you all have watched the film. And we're going to get the ball rolling, all right? Ashe, Black Power. So with that being said, I watched the movie, came out last Friday. I went out and watched it. I thought it was a good movie. I would give it maybe a B+. But there were some things for me that was a bit troubling, right? So one, we see this is coming after maybe 3-4 years after, of course, the character Adonis Creed, played by Michael B. Jordan, defeats Drago's son. Huge fight in Russia. We come in, he has this great married life. He's married. He has a daughter. They have a family. They're living in the Hollywood Hills, it looks like. They have a great mansion, a palatial estate. And he has a final fight. He beats Pretty Ricky Collin, who's played by a real boxer, in South Africa. Right, farewell fight. He wins. He goes out as a unified heavyweight champion. He retires and he starts a boxing promotional company, which is congruent with what typically takes place in mainstream boxing, right? You have a fighter who was prominent. He was able to be a mainstream star, won Floyd Mayweather, Oscar De La Hoya, Miguel Cotto to a lesser degree. After their careers have winded down and they've retired, they tend to start their own promotional companies. So we have this with Adonis Creed, with Creed Athletics, right? And so I would presume that with it being Creed Athletics, that they are even, of course, moving in a manner in which they're promoting or getting involved in entertainment or sports entertainment and outside the realm of simply boxing or the squared circle. But this is just my presumption, right, based on the name of the company. But there were some things to me that were a bit problematic. So one, the theme of the movie, I think when you look at some of the promotional posters, was you can't run from your past, right? So we see in the first Creed movie, Adonis is working in corporate America. He had just gotten a promotion, but decides, hey, boxing is my passion. Boxing is what I want to do. Boom, that's what he chooses to do, right? We see the situation in which when he meets Rocky says, I can tell you're educated, you're well-spoken. Why do you want to have the life of a fighter, right? But this is the decision that he makes. Fast forward to the third film. He's running Creed Athletics. I would dare say is a multinational business, a corporation. They have a contract with Showtime Sports. He's a promoter now. He stepped into the proverbial shoes of one Oscar De La Hoya, Floyd Mayweather, and other great, Don King, because he was an unscrupulous character like Don King. But you get to the point to where he, of course, playing his role as a boxing promoter. He states, I want to make Drago versus Hernandez the biggest fight of the year, right? However, in the backdrop, this is a guy who's running a multinational business, a multi-million business, but he's emotionally unstable, right? He runs from his past. He has this great life, but his past is what? He used to be a criminal. At one point in life, he was a miscreant. He was a ne'er-do-well, right? And this, of course, comes to a head when his friend that he grew up idolizing, I dare say, Damien Diamond Anderson, gets out of prison after doing 18 years. So they showed a flashback scene to where Adonis gets into a fight with someone based on, this is a guy that used to bully him when they were in the group home. He starts getting jumped. And of course, Damon shows up, pulls out a gun. Damon goes to prison. Adonis runs off based on the fact that Damon, of course, had some prior felonies, and he had a weapon, what's known as weapons under disability. And so he does time. He gets out, takes umbrage with that, and we don't really see the development of Damien's character in terms of being the villain until after he, of course, wins the heavyweight championship, right? But I think Jonathan Majors did an absolutely phenomenal job in terms of his role in the film. I think he did a phenomenal job. But there's some things I really wanted to get at, right? So there was a scene where he invites Damon to his home. Damon's like, oh man, you went soft. You got this nice house. You're married life, da-da-da-da-da. And Adonis says, oh man, I just live here. They run the household. And by they, he's referring to his wife and his daughter, right? So I found that to be particularly problematic, right? Because it's promoting this concept of really a matrifocal household arrangement, right? Even though he's the breadwinner, even though they have this home because of him, it almost infers that somehow, some way, he's incapable of leading the household, of leading the family, even though they have the household, they have the family because of his labor, right? He used to abuse him. I believe he was the chaperone in the group home. I wouldn't say bully. Got you. Okay, Mufasa says he used to abuse him. Got you. I believe he was a chaperone in that group home. I wouldn't say bully. Understood. You watched the movie as well. You could tap in if you like. So I saw that as a particularly problematic, even maybe inferring, and I would argue, to this concept of Black misandry, right? So hope many of you know what misandry is. If you don't, I'm going to give you all the definition. So misandry is a dislike of contempt for or ingrained prejudice against men. And I would argue that when we look at Black misandry, it tends to promote this narrative of Black men being incapable of leading, incapable of being leaders, particularly in the home, in the household. So when things come to a head, Damien, his true persona comes out. He's become the villain in the film. And it kind of sends Adonis, on this emotional roller coaster, right? His wife asked him to open up. He chooses not to. I gave Love asked that she gave the film 7 out of 10. It fell short in some parts. Absolutely. I want you to tap in when I finish my soliloquy, and you can share with me what you feel, why do you feel, where the film fell short, and why you give it 7 out of 10. So that was an issue for me. But right, so this concept of, even though this man he was a world champion, unified heavyweight champion, he's running a multi-million business. He's savvy enough, business savvy enough, intellectually astute enough to create a partnership with Showtime Sports. He's emotionally immature. So he still has the emotional maturity of a child, right? Found this to be extremely problematic. In my opinion, this is playing on stereotypes about Black men. But also there was a scene in the film where they had an argument, right? Wasn't physical. They just having a verbal argument, which happens. Married couples argue at some point, right? If you know someone long enough, you're going to have an argument with them. Nothing wrong with that. But then the wife, she grabs the character, her daughter, and then goes off and says, you need to get it together. I'm not going to allow her to be around you. You're going to somehow hurt her. So then we see this concept and this idea, this narrative of the father is a danger to their own child. right? And I thought that was rather curious that they would put that in the film, right? Particularly when Michael B. Jordan was directing the film. I know he didn't write the film, but he was directing the film, because that is the type of narrative that oftentimes is used when what the police and even what the family court system is weaponized against Black fathers, right? That somehow, some way, because we had an argument or disagreement, even though he wasn't physically violent, he wasn't emotionally violent, he wasn't verbally abusive, I believe he's a danger to the child, right? So I thought that was a bit curious, extremely curious, right? So something to consider, right? Um, Also, I think this issue of Black maleness being synonymous with criminality, right? He can't run from his past, no matter how successful he is. The fact that he was a criminal at some point in his life, or engaged in what many would argue were criminal activity, right? Um, it comes back to haunt him even when he's become a successful man and adult. I found that to be rather curious, right? Just so what I think what I saw was some underlying themes in the film that I don't think many people may have considered. Definitely want to hear what you all have to say. So the link is in the chat, family. Want you all to tap in, share with me. Did you notice these particular themes? Did you find these themes problematic as well in the film? Then Sister Ash, I would love to hear why you believe the film fell short in some parts. And Brother Shabazz, we'd love to get your thoughts as well. So we're doing it. We're here on Lumumba Speaks, and we're going to have a conversation regarding the Creed 3 movie review, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I think I focused a bit on the good, but more on the bad and the ugly. But I will say I think that Jonathan Majors' acting was a highlight. Was a highlight of the movie. But I do think the final fight scene or sequence was a dud, right? So something to consider, particularly when they had them like fighting like they were in the jail cell. I was like, this is just absolutely ridiculous, right? So something to consider, but definitely want you all to tap in. The link is in the chat. You're here watching Lumumba Speaks. If you're watching, make sure you hit the like button, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, and make sure you like, subscribe, and share as we have a conversation regarding the Creed 3 movie review, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So definitely want to get you all's thoughts on this concept of him being emotionally immature, but also that he's somehow a danger to his child because he had an argument with his wife. So just some things to consider, right? I think these are some underlying things that may have gone unnoticed. But I think this narrative and this concept idea being promoted to the public, particularly by a Black man who is directing the film, I think plays a role in how, of course, the family court system is weaponized against Black fathers to this day. So definitely want to have a conversation regarding that. But the link is in the chat, family. I'll put the link in the chat once again if you all are unable to see the link. As I said before, I believe the link is in the description. And I want you all to tap in and be part of the conversation as we discuss Creed 3 movie review, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Right. Yes. So let's say that this concept of being emotionally immature, him being a danger to his daughter, even the scene where his daughter is being bullied at school, the daughter stands up for herself, hits the girl leaves her alone. When they show up to speak with the director of the school or the principal of the school, even in that conversation, in which the parents, he, and of course his wife, are having a conversation with the teacher, with the principal or the teacher or the director of the school, he still comes off as irrational, right? And the mom is the one who has to say, hey, yes, this is what he actually means. This is what we mean to say. Almost like she had to correct him as if he was a child. And then she tells him, you can't solve every problem by fighting. And he reinforces this situation of, yes, you can. I did, So it bothered me a bit to where throughout the film, the first two films, he was an intellectual. He was someone who was able to be a thinker. But now we see him in a situation where he's almost regressed intellectually, regressed to the point to where he's almost become this brute, right? This animal almost of a certain standpoint, even in the before the final round, and of course the climatic fight, where he says to him, I need you to go out there and just fight and like basically be a beast. rather than box, right? So reinforcing this concept and idea of almost being animalistic, right? Relying on instinct, right? When anyone who's boxed before and I've boxed before knows boxing is a sport that's based on what? Intellect, having an IQ, setting traps, thinking while you're in the ring, right? So it just, from that narrative, I think it was a bit disheartening, right? But the link is in the chat, family. Definitely want to get you all's thoughts on uh, what you thought of the film, right? As we review the movie, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We're talking about Creed 3 here on the MoonSpeaks.com here on YouTube, right? A Black Empowerment Initiative where we believe we could gain a competitive advantage by always betting on Black. The link is in the chat, family. Definitely want you all to tap in. Um, Definitely want you all to tap in and let me know your thoughts on the film. So yes, hopefully we can do that. But like I said, I think there was a number of things for me that were disconcerting, particularly this concept and idea of the fact that the women ran the household, right? Not only his wife, but even his daughter, right? And then this concept and idea that he was emotionally unstable and that dangerous to his own child, right? I found that to be particularly problematic, right? So, but once again, that was my take, my perspective. Definitely want to hear what you all have to say regarding Creed 3. Would you give it what? The sister gave it 7 out of 10. What did you give it? 4 out of 5 stars, 3 out of 5, so on and so forth. I think I would probably give it about 7 out of 10 as well. Thought the film leading up to the final fight was pretty good, but I expected more out of that, of course, climatic battle, right? And it just left a lot lacking for me, particularly the fact that he gets dropped right on the body shot. If anyone knows anything about boxing, and I do, when you get dropped by a body shot, it takes a lot out of you. And I think it's rather unrealistic that you're going to get up after being dropped by a body shot in the 12th and final round, then knock someone out right with a one-hitter quitter. But we know it's a movie, but I think one of the biggest criticisms of course, boxing movies are the fact that it tends to be unrealistic, right? But what I will say is, if you watched, of course, Brother Creed, Jonathan Majors, and of course Michael B. Jordan, the fact in the final fight that they were slipping punches, so on and so forth, you could tell that they actually did some boxing training and really worked on developing the fundamentals necessary and needed to put on some realistic boxing scenes. So definitely want to give shout out to Jonathan Majors, who I think did a great job, did a great job of playing the villain, playing that primary protagonist. And the thing was, he was a little humble. He was a bit humble, but when he won the championship, I mean, he really came out and showed his true colors, right? So I can't lie, I fell in love with his character a bit, right? Even though, of course, he had bad intentions, right? But I thought that was something to consider. And then we have to look at this dichotomy of Jonathan Majors is considered real because what? He went to prison. But Michael B. Jordan, of course, is considered fake because he didn't go to prison and he goes on to have a successful boxing career and is able to parlay that into developing a sports entertainment company, right? So look at this dichotomy. I think that's rather extremely problematic as well. Reinforcing this kind of negative stereotype that to be real or to really be down, you have to have engaged in some type of criminal activity, right? Have a sense of street cred, right? So there's a number of things that I think one can unpack when we talk about the movie, and that's why I definitely hope that many of you can tap in, be part of the conversation, and share your thoughts if you've seen the movie on what Creed 3, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Particularly the fact that Creed 3, I think I saw a commercial. Creed 3 is the #1 movie in the country right now. I think as of today, it's the 5th highest grossing film of 2023. So it definitely did well at the box office. All right, Sister Shaw, I appreciate you, sister, for tapping in. So just something to consider, family, something definitely to consider when we talk about, of course, the movie and really unpacking what I think are some underlying narratives and themes I think many people may not realize or be willing to critique, right? Like I said, I think overall the film was good. I would give it a B, maybe a B plus, right? But like I said, there was some ideas, some themes, some scenes in there that I found to be particularly problematic. Like I said, this issue of, from the after school, the daughter seeking to defend her. She defends herself against a bully, and he's kind of irrational, and the mom is the one who has to tap in and say, "Oh no, this is what he really means." Right? Almost like she has to correct him like he's a child. Right? I just found it to be extremely problematic in a way, reinforcing some negative stereotypes that I would even argue comes from feminism, right? This concept and idea of men being irrational, concept and idea of men basically being grown children, right? Incapable of proper leadership, being dangerous to their own children, and capable of what efficaciously leading their own household, even though, as we saw in the film, they had that home because of what the work that he was doing, right? Because as we know, his wife in the film, due to her hearing issues, she was unable to perform or really record music anymore. So, a lot to unpack there. Brother Shabazz, what say you?
Hey, what's going on, man? How you been?
I've been quite all right. How are you?
I'm good. I don't know. I'm on my car thing, so I don't know how the audio is gonna be. But I've been good. And then jumping in, if I was to jump in right on what you're on right
You breaking up on me.
now, let me change my audio settings. Let me put it on. All right, can you hear me better now?
I can hear you much better.
Yeah. So the wife, we got to realize, was a highly successful musician, highly successful. So it's not all him that built that house. They kind of left that open-ended because yes, he became very successful, but when you're talking about an artist with hit records and multiple gold records, that's a very successful musician as well. So
This is true, but that doesn't
contribution.
mean. But as we know with TLC, when they sold 10 million records, and their record their album went diamond. They didn't make a lot of money.
That's true.
Right. So, and the
You
reason
there?
why I stated this because when you are able to create a boxing promotional company, that means you had to have made bank during your career.
For sure.
Right. And
it is, but
you were able to have a contract with Showtime Sports. That means that you made bank, considerable bank.
no, I think it's clear that he's the breadwinner, but she also did contribute. The way they put it, they kind of threw that in there so you knew that.
Mm-hmm.
And she was into her music, when they met. If we go back to the second one, so I think that was kind of, the way they wanted to paint it, even though he was clearly the breadwinner,
Mm-hmm.
But I think now I was confused on that part where she's like, "Oh, you're doing this and that. You're gonna do this in front of her." Number one, I was wondering why she even was down there. If she's deaf, how'd she even know they were yelling?
Right. That's
what attracted her? I'm like, what attracted her to that room? She's deaf.
Right.
And then I was like, okay, they're arguing. They make it like he did something. They could have at least made him throw something. I didn't understand that.
Yeah, he wasn't aggressive. He wasn't threatening, engaging in threatening behavior or actions. I'm like, I'd rather you take this to, oh man, if you can do this, you can't be around our daughters.
Yeah, that didn't make any sense to me.
Right.
I would have had him break a glass or something, Then it would have made more sense.
It would have made more sense, right? But I stated that because we tend to find this, right? With family courts, oftentimes, unfortunately, women will weaponize the family courts by saying, "I believe he's a danger to the child." The man has never said or done anything that would be representative of being a danger, being a potential harm. But they will make these allegations out of what? Simply disagreeing with him.
Right. Yeah.
And so when I saw that, I said, "Shit, here we go, right? Here we go."
But that you bring up a good point. I guess I didn't think of that because what it makes it seem like something that's very normal.
Yeah.
Is like gaslighting. Okay, I didn't understand until now. I kind of get what you're saying. Now you're making it look like that was horrible, but that's really a normal discussion.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I mean, I was like, wow. Like I said, even when they were at the school, right? And the father, Adonis made a valid point. So our daughter can't defend herself. Oh no, what he really means is XYZ. Said, wow.
Okay, now on that part, I wasn't really following you because I feel like that was like I didn't see this any stereotypes in that. I seen that as just the common, that's kind of how a man would look at it versus a woman. You know what I mean? I seen that as just kind of like
Right,
a
and I
classic.
got you there. I got you there. But the fact that every time he made a statement, she provided a rebuttal that what basically superseded what he said.
Yeah.
Right, that was the issue. It was one thing to say, okay, we have a different perspective, but to where every time he made a statement, she superseded his statement, basically correcting it. Right,
Hmm.
and then as I stated, when they invited Damien to the home, and he tells him, "Oh man, I just live here. They run the place."
Right.
You would never hear me
I,
saying no crap like that.
well, okay.
My father never said
I didn't
anything
see
like
it that
that.
he took it like she ran the place. I didn't hear it that
But
way.
that's what he said. He didn't
But
just
I
say
seen it
she.
at, like, for
He,
instance,
hold
right,
on, hold on real quick. He didn't just say
right,
she. He said they.
right.
Right, meaning the wife and the child. And so, but that made me think of what this concept that Dr. T. Hassan Johnson talked about, a matrifocal household, in which leadership is based on what? Simply being female.
Right.
Right? And so and he showed a video of a brother who was about 28 years old. His younger sister was 18. His brother had a master's degree. He was making six figures, and his sister had the family trust, the brain trust, had already taken his 18-year-old sister and put her in a position of leadership in the household to make decisions above him, even though she was still in high school and he had a master's degree, was working in corporate America and making six figures.
How is she making decisions? What? Hold on. Which decisions?
No, I'm talking about this was a video that Dr. T. Hassan Johnson showed on his channel where a brother was
Right.
talking about this and of course his family unit. Right. So this is I thought about that, it being matrifocal. He didn't just say she's running the house. So we know that some men say, oh man, my wife is running things, right? But he said they, meaning the wife and the child. There's
Yeah, but
something to
okay, now what was the guy? Because I can't remember what prompted that statement because I didn't take it in that way. Because for instance, right, I'm always going to run my household, but there are aspects of the household that the women are in charge of. You know what I mean? She may be decorating things, keeping things
right,
clean.
right.
She
We got
has things like that, and I had took it that I had took it that way. When I was a kid, I remember asking my dad about that, like who's supposed to make the decisions in the house, and he said, you know what? He said I make all the big decisions that count, so she can make the rest, right?
right.
Um,
So Sister Ash says, I didn't get the fight scene because it's one thing to not want to fight and argue in front of your child, but to blame him for it all was a miss. I would presume you mean mess by that. Absolutely. And so I said, to me, I saw remnants of black misandry throughout the film. I did.
yeah.
It's,
Well,
right.
I also sense some manipulation in it too, because it's kind of like, okay, so now because he doesn't want to go into this stuff, now you're gonna make it like, you know what I mean? Because he doesn't want to open up. He doesn't have to open up about everything.
Right.
I don't agree with this whole thing. Like you have to talk about every single thing in your past and go in depth in everything all the time.
Yeah. Right.
And then she's trying to make it like, okay, you're a danger to our daughter if you're doing this. Just tell me. It's like she's trying to get what she wants and push her.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about the manipulation aspect. So if you don't tell me everything about your past, then somehow you're being a bad father and a bad husband.
Right. And like I said, it's just like a lot of people assume that that's the way to do it, right? But that's not always the case. You know what I'm saying? You don't always have to open up and tell about everything. That's not
Mm-hmm.
always the case. You get what I mean? But there's this assumption, and that's kind of propaganda toward that idea, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's supposed to open up. He's supposed to do this. He's supposed to. It's like, no, you're not always supposed to do that, actually. But the way they frame it makes it as if, yeah, you have to do that as a man. just be emotionally available and just, whatever. It's like, no, you don't always have to do that. And you definitely
Right.
don't always have to do it with your wife at her command.
Right.
So I don't necessarily agree with that either. And that is some propaganda in there with that.
Absolutely. Because that's why I say that, this concept of
But
if matrifocal family unit, to where we see this concept and idea of the woman, or just basically being female, not even being a mother, but being female, put them in a position to where they were making decisions, they were making the pronouncements, they were running the household, right? So I thought that was something that I found rather curious and disconcerting.
But I mean, in the end of the day, well, you know what? Oh man, and then he had to go behind her back to start to talk about the boxing with his daughter. Had to go behind the mom's
Right,
back.
right. Like you got to creep behind her, like, like
Mm.
what I mean. Yeah, it's just like what is going on here? So that's what happens. You the head of you got to go behind her back. You need her permission, and she doesn't give you permission. You have to sneak and do something. Like you're
No
16
funny,
years old. Yeah,
right? Okay,
absolutely.
you're kind of bringing me towards where you're coming from, because I
Yeah.
wasn't seeing it that
What
way
is this?
at first.
Yeah.
And then look, how did the movie open?
How did it open? They were in South Africa, right?
With him dressing up as in that costume and playing Tea Party with the daughter.
Oh yeah, sure was. Yeah. Now, and I would say this: I've done tea party with my daughters before, but I never dressed up in no outfit.
Yeah. No, it was funny because I saw this movie with my daughter, and she was like, "I could never see you doing that."
Right. Yeah.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with that or anything, but it's just that was her perception. I just asked her.
Yeah. Now I talked to my daughter about something like that, and she told me she would be looking at me like I was cray.
That's what she was. My daughter gave me the same version of it, the same type of version. Like,
and like I remember, I mean, I did tea party with her, the whole nine. My son as well. We, like, listen, man, like, this is what she want. We're gonna just do it real quick. Just
play with some kids. That's nothing wrong with that.
Because I was like, she go outside and play football with you, so you could do this. We could do this with her. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, ain't nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, but yeah, so I think that it's a good point, right? And so I think one of the things that you can argue, even in that scene, was this push to where, okay, in order for you to be a girl dad, you almost have to feminize yourself. And I don't think you have to do that.
No, I agree with you. I got a 14-year-old daughter. I didn't have to do all that, at all.
Yeah, you don't have to feminize yourself or be effeminate to be a competent girl dad. And I think most young ladies, and I think Sister Love Ash and Sister Shaw can tap in, will tell you that when you talk about that father or father figure, but we prefer father, that's not what they want from their daddy.
Yeah.
If you want to be quite honest, that's not what young ladies are looking for from their fathers.
No, but that's what they push. I don't know if you remember this commercial. There was a commercial it was a black or whatever.
You're breaking up a little bit.
And am I breaking up? Can you hear me again? Hello?
I can hear you now.
Yeah, well, it was.
I got you. Yeah, we're
good. Black father with and you could hear him, and he was doing the cheer routine alongside her. And when you pan the camera all the way over, it started with her, and then you see him in it doing all the steps.
Oh yeah, you're breaking up again. Brother Shabazz. Yeah, you're breaking up again, brother. I think you've gone out. But I think you were speaking to a commercial in which there was a father who was supporting his daughter doing
the routine.
Yes. Yeah, you keep going in and out, brother, but we can hear you again now.
Yeah, no, I'm driving, so maybe I hit a rough patch.
Yeah, you hit a rough patch. Okay, go right ahead.
But yeah, okay. So my stepmother, did you get the story about the commercial with the?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so there's a young girl. She's maybe 11, 12 years old. She's doing a cheer routine in the commercial, and they start out with the camera on her, but you hear her and you hear a man's voice, and then they slowly open up the camera until you can see the father, and the father comes into the picture, and the father's doing the cheer routine alongside her, right? So you hear his voice, then you see him. Then you see he's doing the same thing that she's doing. And I saw that as a kid. And my stepmother was amused by it and saying, yeah, well, when you're dad, you got a daughter, sometimes you got to do those type of things. And it didn't make sense to me at that time.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some people that believe that. And that's what that commercial was pushing. You get what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And, I remember when I was down, I was living in Mexico. I run into a brother, and an older brother, he about in his 50s, and he was just talking about how they're mixing roles, and he was like they're feminizing men nowadays. He's like all these things you're doing with your kids, that's the mother's job. He was like you're supposed to protect and provide, and because I do a lot of things with my daughter. Like today, I just actually dropped her off. We just did Saturday school, library, all that type of stuff. He's like, the mother's supposed to be doing that type of stuff. Um, and that not that I'm not gonna do it anymore, but it is that I do see men nowadays taking on roles that were traditionally for women,
And
doing things.
why do you think that is?
I think society's being directed in that way. This society, we're being socially engineered for that. That's the new way. You're no longer your partners now. So what they've done is that they created confusion. But society is that way. That's what the TV tells you. That's what all the music tells you. That's what Creed 3 taught you. Everything's equal. It's 50-50. There's no gender roles. That's being broken down. That's why that's happening.
Okay.
And
And
then
you said
most
the
of all,
music. Could you give an example
huh?
maybe of some music that promotes these ideas?
The music, like things you hear from pop stars, pop star music. Like some of the domineering lyrics you might hear from a Cardi B or a Rihanna, or I
Okay.
guess it what you want. You want like a song, the
Yeah, I
independent
mean,
woman songs. You could say
yeah, I got
and all the independent woman songs.
okay.
Always 50-50 in relationships. I'm getting my own money. All these things that promote anything other than, my priority is children,
Family.
being a wife,
Okay.
are counter to the previous, I would say.
Okay. Got you. Got
Yeah.
you. All right. So overall,
Yeah.
how would you rate the film? If you could give it 4 out of 5 stars, what would you rate the film?
I would say I would give it a B in letter grades, B plus in letter grades, 4 out of 5. I say 4 out of 5. 4 out of 5.
Okay. And
Maybe
what would
4
your
point
thoughts on
something.
the? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that was it. I would say maybe 4 point something. You know what I mean?
Okay. And what were your thoughts on Jonathan Major's performance?
Oh, he killed it, bro. He
Tell
sounded
me,
like a straight
I
LA
was like, well,
dude,
this
man.
dude is doing a hell of a job.
Yeah, he was like sound like a straight up LA dude. And then he just every part he he just portrayed what they was trying to get from him. Like you said,
Mm.
you could see the humility in him. You know what I mean? You could see the humility in him, but as it progressed, you could see
The villain
and how
coming out.
they introduced it. Damn.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you hear me? Am I back?
Yeah, yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, no, it's like as it progressed, you could see the snake in him. I just felt like he always portrayed what where it was in the story. I thought he did a great job.
Absolutely.
I thought he did a great job. And then now let me ask you this though, talking about matrifocal. What did you think about the mother keeping his letters away from Adonis?
That's a good point. So as a parent, I could understand a parent saying, I think this person's a bad influence. I'm cutting off contact. Because when my son was in first grade, I saw a young man that I saw when he was in first grade was going down the wrong road. And I was like, that person's bad for your life. You're never to speak to them again. And fast forward, what, 9, 10 years, the young man is in prison now for armed robbery. So I could understand that.
Right. Okay. Then we're on the same place. I was torn, But when I looked at it, I said, you know what? I definitely could understand that too. But see, I can't really say matrifocal because she was a single parent, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
there
then
was
she
no
was a
man
single parent
involved in
because
that.
what? The father died years ago in the Rocky universe. He was killed in the ring, right? Um,
Well, no, was she living with Creed when he died?
yeah, they were married. So
Okay,
I don't
okay,
know if
okay.
you've ever seen Rocky 4.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, you remember like
Yeah.
she was yeah, they were married and she was, screaming his name when he got killed, trying to get into the ring.
Right, right. I guess I just forgot. Okay,
Yeah,
I got confused. I did know that. I got confused because Adonis was
yeah,
an illegitimate child, but something happened to his
yeah,
mother, and she took him in. I think is what happened.
yeah,
You're right.
right. Because he was in a group home and she came and took him in. And she became his adoptive mother.
Okay. So we agreed on that. Yeah, because my parents
Yeah,
did something similar. That happened to me.
yeah,
I had
yeah. Parents,
it's
if
like
you
my best
are
friend on the block.
if you are a good parent, that's a command decision that you're going to make, particularly if the child is a minor. Because I think based on the movie, at the time that Damon went to jail, Adonis was 14, right? So as a parent, you make that command decision and you say, listen, I'm going to make sure this person has nothing to do with my son. So I didn't take issue with that.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
so you would have played it the same.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I damn near agree with everything Felicia Rashad does in real life and in film, right? So, so yeah,
Because I had, like I said, I had a friend, it was the same type of deal, and we hung out all the time, and we did all type of stuff, and they had told me they didn't want me to be his friend anymore, but it was difficult because we live right there, you know what I mean? We went to school and all that, and they did that, and they seen the right things, because a few years later, I mean, when we got older, maybe 5-6 years down the line, you know what I mean? Because we was friends all through childhood. Obviously, got into gangbanging and got shot in his face at the trolley stop.
This is in San Diego, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. 619, correct?
619.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
619. Yeah, I mean,
banging and shit. That's what they call it out there in Southern California, banging.
Yep. Yeah. But the thing is,
And real quick, I don't mean to cut you off, but you're a parent now. And let me ask you this. Now that you're a parent and you're the parent of a teenager, Lord have mercy, right? So am I.
Yeah.
Do you tend to find that you tend to see yourself saying, damn, my parents are right about everything?
Yeah. Especially because you understand the difficulty. It's like sometimes you don't know what the hell to do. You know what I mean? You got to like play it by ear. There's no like rule book, So I definitely do, man. I definitely do. Like I said, and even some of the mistakes they made, I kind of understand. You know what I mean? Because I really appreciate some of these things. Like I got a lot of discipline from my dad. There's a period where it was just him and me. It was a lot of discipline. But now when I see people that lack discipline, I'm happy it happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm happy it happened. Because I got that self-control, and a lot of people don't have it, but it was instilled.
Absolutely. And that's the big thing I used to tell my son. I said, this, there were times where I had, I gave him a whooping, utilize corporal punishment. I said, well, listen, what you need to understand is you could control this situation. I said, I can't just give you a whooping for nothing. For any, you have to, you know what I'm saying? I said, that ain't how it works. You would be taken away from me if I just gave you a whooping for no reason. Right. So I told him, I said, you could control this. I said, you could control that you never get a whooping ever for the rest of your life. I said, it's all based on what? Self-discipline and self-control. And I told my son, I said, when you fail to control yourself, somebody else will. Right? And I said, when you're a child, I control you. Your mother controls you. But when you become an adult, it's called the county jail. They control you. Brother Shabazz, go right ahead. Okay, I think we lost you here. So yeah, so I mean, it's some things. So like I said, in the film, I didn't take issue with that. I would understand as a teenager.
You hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Go right ahead.
No, I seen the brother the other day, and I didn't listen to what he said, but I just seen in his title, or I listened. I clicked in for a second. And he was talking about how it was two brothers and they were tight with each other. They had each other's back, and then a woman got between them. And I
Mm,
disagreed with his assessment on it. But that's why I wanted to ask you what you thought. But that was what he was saying. Basically, they
mm.
had each other back. They were thick as thieves. Then all of a sudden, the mom gets between them and breaks that relationship down.
No, that's called a parent doing a damn job. You would be, I mean, that would be, I mean, tantamount to allowing your child to basically throw their life away, to knowingly and willingly allow your child to associate with someone who you know is engaged in criminal activity. It's absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, I didn't see it as such. I thought that was good parenting. Good parenting. And any other thoughts on the film, my brother? Any other thoughts? Think we lost you again. You may be going through a bad section. So once again, you're watching Lumumba Speaks here on YouTube. We're having a great discussion regarding the Creed 3 movie review. If many of you have not seen it, I would, of course, argue that you should go see it. It's gotten rave reviews. It's the #1 movie in America right now. And we're talking about Creed 3, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Got Brother Shabazz on the line. What's going on, brother?
What did you think about? I mean, I liked the movie. You asked me a second ago. I just liked
Mhm.
it. I thought it was a good message in that movie. I thought it was a good. I thought it was a good message. It was basically, you have to be careful and check the intentions of people.
Mhm.
And you have to think forward, not backwards. That's kind of what I
Right.
took from it. Because
And,
you sitting here, huh?
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's like you sitting here trying to play out some old stuff and worried about that. In reality, you messing up what you got going. He had a good fighter, had a good buzz. He's sitting here trying to do this thing with this guy, and this guy turned out to be a snake. You know?
Right. But let me ask you this though. And I'll give you my take on the film, but overall, but I, I would understand Adonis's position because I know if I had a homeboy who got locked up when we were kids, got out, I would be trying to put him on too. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Yeah, I would have been trying to put him on too. I think I lost you again. But I would say this: what I did like was at the end. Of course, this came after Damon. Damien had lost, but he stated that he took a responsibility and said, "It's not your fault that I went to prison." He said, "I knew that I already had convictions, and I knew I shouldn't have had the gun." Right. So I did like the fact that he accepted responsibility and said, "No, it was my fault. Right, my fault that I went to prison. It's not
That
your
was
fault."
sticky though, man. That's a sticky one because I pulled the gun for you though. You didn't
Right, but
pull the
here's
gun
the thing
for.
though: if you know you are a felon, you know you're legally not allowed to possess a firearm. Point blank, period. And that's what he said. The fact that I was even in possession of the gun, that's on me because I knew I wasn't supposed to have it in the first place.
Right.
Weapons do y'all call that in California? Is it called weapons under disability? And that's what it's called in Ohio.
I never heard that term.
Yeah, in Ohio, if you are a felon, you're legally not allowed to own a firearm, and it's called weapons under disability.
I don't get how old was he? He was 18. I didn't
Yeah,
understand
yeah,
that.
he
I
was
thought they were
18. Yeah,
minors.
yeah, he was 18.
Oh, he was already grown. Okay, I thought they were both minors.
No, he was 18 and Adonis was 14.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So he was that much older. Uh, I mean, I guess he shouldn't have had the gun, but he still backed him up.
I mean, there's no guess to it. I mean, by law, he wasn't allowed to have one.
Yeah, but we all know what was going on in 2002 in Los Angeles of all places.
Mm.
So yeah, legally it.
Yeah, you broke up on me again. Go ahead. All right. We lost you again, Brother Shabazz. All right. Hopefully you could tap back in. So yeah, that's another big thing that I would like for some people to tap in and discuss in the film regarding,
It's
you
my.
know. Go ahead.
Yeah, my screen keeps going. My screen keeps going to sleep, and then that's when I cut out. But I'm saying,
Okay.
in 2002 in Southern California, it was a lot of people with guns. You know what I'm saying? I ain't
Mm-hmm.
gonna lie to you, man. So I could see that. Yes, legally he shouldn't have had it, but I could see why he had it because yeah, it was just crazy at that time. I'm sure it was the same in Ohio.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. Yeah, I said, yeah. But so of course, but he did take responsibility. He stated that it was my fault that I went to prison. I knew I should not have had the gun. So let me ask you this: what was your take on him becoming friends with Victor Drago? You just muted yourself. So what was you just muted yourself, Brother Shabazz. But what was your take on him becoming friends with Victor Drago?
Becoming friends with who now?
Victor Drago.
Victor Drago. Oh, the Russian.
Yeah.
Oh man, the killer of his father. I did not think about that.
No, he became
You know
friends
what?
with the son, the guy that he fought in Creed 2.
Right. Wait a minute. I didn't catch that part.
Okay. So Ivan Drago was the one who killed his dad.
Right.
Victor Drago was Ivan Drago's son.
Right.
Right? And Adonis fought him in Creed 2, but in Creed 3, they had became friends, and Victor Drago helped him train for the fight against Damien.
Right.
So I was
Victor
asking what were
Drago
your
helped. Okay. You're right. He was training. That was.
Yeah, so I'm asking what were your thoughts on that?
No.
Yeah, you're breaking up on me again.
I didn't see no issue with that. I don't see no reason that he couldn't be friends with him. I don't see a problem with that. Unless
Right.
there was something from the last movie I missed that he did that was like real flagrant.
Nah, I mean, no. And the reason why I brought that up because most people will look at that and think it's unrealistic. But as someone who used to box, you tend to go in if you have a lot of animosity in the fight against a guy. At the end of the fight, win, lose, or draw, you tend to have a lot of respect and you befriend the person. It's just part of the culture of boxing. It's rare that you will
Yeah.
have a fight with a person, and after you all fight, you still don't like the person. It's just even in just sparring, it's like that.
Yeah, no, when I see that in terms of I don't know about boxing, but in regular fights, that's kind of how it is.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Y'all get into a fight and then we be in school suspension the next day, we be cool.
Right. And I
You
think
know what I mean?
it's a respect thing that comes from that as well.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I wouldn't see no issue with that. I wouldn't see no
Okay.
issue with that.
Okay.
What did you think about how dude flipped? Did you see that coming? How Jonathan Majors flipped?
Oh well, I mean, I figured it was coming because he was the villain. You know what I'm saying? But I think it spoke to how naive Adonis was because he was no longer in that world. You know what I mean? Because I thought immediately when
He was
he
naive, but he also had the guilt.
yeah, he had some guilt. You know what I mean? And I thought of this is almost times what people call survivors remorse or survivor's guilt.
Right.
Right? Where a person,
Right. And that was
feels
what I was getting
guilty.
at. Okay. So what? So did he delete that guy? Is that how you took it?
What you mean, delete who?
That Jonathan Majors' character deleted the group home leader.
No, he just pulled out the gun and then the police showed up and he was arrested.
Yeah, but they never showed what actually. See, this is what I think they did. I think he implied
No,
that
they
he
did show
deleted
what
it,
happened in
but
the
they didn't
movie.
finish.
Right. It showed he pulled out the gun, the police showed up, everyone who was in the fight put their hands up, and then Adonis Creed took off running and was able to get away while Jonathan Major's character went to jail. And he said he got all that time because he already was on parole and was in possession of a firearm. So he had a parole violation, a new charge representing disability. And you know how they were stroking cats back in California at the time, basically on that 3 strikes. right? And then, as you also know, if you brandish a weapon on someone, you could be charged with assault just for brandishing the weapon in which a person believes that they're going to be shot. So there were a number of, and I'm thinking of this because I've gone through the criminal justice system before, but if just brandishing a weapon and you already have felonies and you're on probation, yeah, you could get 10, 12, 15, 18 years. Absolutely. So something to, be cognizant of. Brother Shabazz, are you still there?
This thing.
Go ahead.
I couldn't figure out how you would get 18 years for a gun charge and assault with a deadly weapon. That just didn't register to me.
I'll tell you why. Because it also, listen, when you have your parole revocated or even probation, you got to do all the time that you had sitting on the shelf plus the time from the new charges.
Right.
Yeah, that's how you would get 18. Because you got to do all the time that you had on the shelf plus the time for the new charges. The only way it wouldn't be 18 is if they run those sentences concurrently. But in a state like California, which they're making money off of what? Prison labor, they're going to run those sentences what? Consecutively.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it goes.
I was thinking that maybe he deleted the guy because they showed the police coming up, but they didn't necessarily show what happened to the guy.
No, they even showed him when the police showed up and he put the gun down.
He did.
Yeah, they showed him.
But we don't know what he did before that, though.
Well, no, it does. It showed him pull the gun on the guy, and then it shows the police showing up after he pulls the gun on the guy.
No, but they separated these scenes, though.
Yeah, I know, but I'm talking about chronologically.
Right.
Yeah.
But they separated the scenes, and we don't know what happened in between. And they showed us the guy in the middle. They showed us the guy when Michael B. Jordan's character swung on him. Then they showed us when Michael B. Jordan was getting jumped and the people came. Then they showed him on the ground when the dude came out of the car.
Right.
But they didn't. Then they just went to the police and him dropping the gun. They didn't show what happened.
Well, no, but they also showed they showed the guy that Michael B. Jordan confronted and started punching with his hands up when Michael B. Jordan's character ran off and got away. So
no, he was on the ground. I thought he was on the ground.
Yeah, but I'm saying when the police came in and said, "Freeze, everyone, put your hands up," and they told Johnny the Major's character to drop the weapon, they also panned and showed everyone, including the guy that Adonis Creed had attacked, standing up with their hands in the air. And that's when.
See, now, I thought he was still on the floor. I thought he was on the ground.
No. He had his hands up, and then Michael B. Jordan's character took off and ran away.
Okay, then yeah, I thought he was still on the ground. That's why I was like, oh wait, I think they might have softly implied.
No. But like I said, if you got weapons under disability, assault with a deadly weapon, plus the time you have on the shelf, absolutely, you probably won't get 18 years. And I don't know if you have this in California, but in Ohio, then you got the gun specification. So in Ohio, you're going to have all of those charges plus your time on the shelf, plus a gun specification, which is another automatic 3 years. Right? So yeah. So
well, here the thing that would have hurt him is we got gang enhancements in California.
Okay.
So gang enhancements are crazy because like you could go in, bro. You could go in for a domestic violence charge. You could go in for a 3-year gun charge, and because you're in a gang, it'll go from 3 years to 10 years. Like they literally are. The gang enhancements are crazy too. So.
Okay.
And then the way they get you, see, out here, like for instance, when you go around, like when you're 17, 18, you would be out with your friends or whatever. Obviously, you get pulled over like everywhere else in America, right? But what they do is they take you out the car and they take pictures of you. And then depending on where you are in the neighborhood, or if you happen to be with another documented gang member, they put you on a list. It's called the gang detail list. And they'll put you under one gang, a certain gang.
Even if you're not a member of a gang.
So there's a criteria there's a criteria, and you have to meet, I believe, 3 of the 9 criteria, something like that. But the thing about it is that that only comes really into play when you have parents or someone sticking up for you. Because what they'll typically do, just because nobody knows, you're not really educated, you're just a kid in the hood or whatever, nobody's really telling you this stuff. They take the picture, and just because you're trying to get out of there, you allow it or whatever. So now they done took a picture and put you on this gang detail. So this is what happened to my close friend, still my best friend today. They went to a high school football game, right? And when they went there were some gang members that the police were familiar with that were from one gang. They actually ended up detaining my friends, thinking that they were about to go and get into a altercation with these other gang members they knew. So because after they detained them, because they thought they were enemies of these other people they were familiar with, they put them in a gang, which is actually, it was the Lincoln Park is the gang, right? They put them in Lincoln, so they on gang gigs under the Lincoln Park gang. And we live, my bad, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, my bad. It's this thing just driving in a car. But anyway, so they put they put him on the detail for the rival hood gang. So they put the in the opposite gang. Like when we went out, we was going out with the rivals of that gang. But they just put them in that gang.
Okay.
Yeah, my bad. I don't know if I'm getting cut out or not. This car keep taking over my phone. But I don't know. I don't know if you caught what I said, but yeah.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But I forgot why I even got into that point. You
Yeah,
know.
you were talking about
But yeah, so the
gang.
gang
They
enhancement.
could hit you with a gang enhancement.
Right. Okay, so yeah, that was the point I'm getting to. So due to this type of stuff, so you could be on a list, and then you could get an actual charge, and then they'll bring up gang enhancements because they've listed you as a gang member on this stuff, right? And it's not until then that they actually have to prove it. But if you're uneducated, you go in, and then the DA they have all these enhancements against you, right? And now they're using this as leverage. So that's the kind of stuff they do, you know.
Right.
So yeah, with those gang enhancements, especially at that time, he could get a lot of time for a little bit of crime at that time, especially if he had prior. So I guess I could see that. And I didn't know that they showed the guy standing up. That's the only reason I went down that whole line of logic.
Okay. Yeah,
But
but
yeah,
yeah, they showed him standing up. But like I said, what tends to happen is, if you get hit with anything, they want to stroke you. They won't run your sentences concurrently. They're running consecutively. And so what would transpire and take place is you have to do all that time that you had on the shelf plus the new charges.
right. Now I liked it, man. I actually liked the sign language. This is
Right.
actually the second movie that I've seen do that. Um, this is the second movie I've seen do that, and I liked it. I enjoyed that aspect of this movie. I
Okay.
never really seen that in another movie. I don't know if you've seen that before. I seen it in
No,
one
I
other
haven't.
movie. I'm sorry.
No, I hadn't. So yeah, that's what's up though, for real.
Yeah. The only other one I saw it in was Planet of the Apes, and I enjoyed it in Planet of the Apes too.
Yeah, likewise, I did as well.
Yeah. But yeah, in terms of anything else, man, I don't know if I could think of nothing else. Like I said, I enjoyed the movie. I really liked his character, and I'm wondering if they setting up something for the daughter. That's what I was wondering.
Hmm.
What do you think?
I think so as well.
I'm like, how the heck do you do boxing and you deaf? That's crazy.
Hmm.
You the boxing guy. You know anybody like that?
Do what?
A deaf boxer.
Um, no, I don't know of any.
That's tough, man. You can't even do sign language with gloves on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's wild, man. Wow. So listen, family, if you're watching, tap in. Want to get you all's perspective on Creed 3 as well, as we know it's the #1 movie in the country right now, starring Michael B. Jordan and Jonathan Majors. I just have to say once again, I think Jonathan Majors truly stepped into the limelight. I think he's the next up and coming African American male movie star. I mean, I just think he played that role to the T, right? But I will say, I think the final fight scene left a lot to be desired. I thought it was a bit corny, especially when they went like into this like alternate reality where they were like they were like in a jail cell. I thought that was just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I like when they I like to see people kind of go out the box. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean?
Absolutely.
I like to see that.
Yeah, so Sister Ash says the final fight was so lame. I agree. So Sister Ash, tap in. I want you to tap in, and I would love for you to share with us why you give the movie a 7 out of 10, but also where you believe the movie fell short in some parts. So I'm gonna put the link in the chat once again, Sister Ash. We know you're in the 619 by way to 937, and I would love for you to
Oh yeah, I don't even know if she grew up out here. She'll know about what I'm talking about with the gang enhancements.
Right on our show. She's from Dayton. She's from my hometown. And
okay.
Yeah.
She outside.
And so would love for you to be able to tap in, Sister Ash, and share your
a transplant.
Yeah, transplant on, of course, where and how you believe the film came up short. So definitely would love to hear from you. Hope you could tap
Let
in.
me ask you, Lumumba, what's the best Rocky movie?
So here's the thing for me. I think my favorite Rocky movie, I believe. So let me first answer.
That's a good distinction.
Yeah, my favorite Rocky movie. Right now, my favorite Rocky movie is Rocky 4. And the reason why is because the first time I watched Rocky 4, I was 4 years old, and I watched the entire movie during a family movie night in which I was sitting on my dad's lap the whole time. I actually remember this. I was sitting on my dad's lap with a big old bowl of popcorn, and I watched the whole movie all the way through. Right? So I remember this was during a family movie night. So that's why it's my favorite, because I have like this childhood connection, right?
Okay.
I personally believe that the best Rocky movie is Rocky 3 and Rocky 5. Now, I'm going to tell you why, because Rocky 5, as we know, performed the worst in the box office bomb. But the reason why I think Rocky 5 is one of the best, because it was realistic. As we know, most boxers, they have this fanfare, they're millionaires, but after their careers are over, they are dead broke and punch drunk, correct?
Yeah.
And that's what took place in Rocky 5. And so the fact that it was sad, but the fact that it was a realistic view of how most boxers' lives turn out after they retired and stepped away from the ring, I thought that was good. And it showed the dynamic of him learning how to be a good father, in which he couldn't just provide the luxuries of life. He actually had to sit down and work with his son and be there for his son, nurture him, help him develop into manhood, so on and so forth. I thought it was great. It also showed the shady side of boxing and boxing promoters, so on and so forth. So I thought it was more realistic, right? Rocky 4 wasn't very realistic. It was like every punch they threw, they landed. That's BS. You know what I mean?
Right.
But Rocky 3, I think, was pretty good, because I think it was representative of a lot of people when they have success in life. You kind of get sit on a high horse. You think extremely highly of yourself, and you almost think that you're invincible. And the fact that he had to go and learn the fundamentals of boxing. I can't just go out here and try to use brute strength. I have to actually learn how to box, and you have to go to a black man to do it. Even though the black man helped him beat another black man. That's a whole other conversation for another day. We talk about that animus relationship between the good Negro and the bad Negro, right?
Right.
But maybe we'll do a review on, of course, Rocky 3, 40 years later, right?
Man, Rocky 3 is the best one, hands down, to me.
But I think Rocky 3 was the best.
Yeah, it's the best. But that's really, I'm saying that really because of Mr. T. Who's the best nemesis? It's Mr. T, hands down, right?
Right, and then of course we have to look at, and in most movies, the villain is the one who makes the movie. If you look at The Dark Knight, the Joker, Heath Ledger is what made that movie.
Absolutely.
Right? If you look at Dark Knight Rises, Bane made that movie.
Dark Knight Rises. Did Bane make that movie?
Dark Knight Rises.
I don't know if Bane made that movie.
I mean, I
Not
was
like
in
the
love.
Joker.
I was
Not
in
like
love
the
with me
Joker.
some Bane. Okay, so it's something to consider. But Sister Ash, appreciate you tapping in, sister. If you could give your 2 cents, it'd be greatly appreciated.
Hey y'all. So I actually just watched the movie today. I thought it was good. I think like you were stating earlier, the character development of Dame was a miss. Um as well as the fight scene. I felt like the fight scene was just like it was a lot going on cuz when he hit him, like when he gave him a body shot and then he's just on the ground and then they counting and I'm like, okay. And then for him to just knock out just like that, it just wasn't realistic at all. I was just like,
Exactly.
that's it?
Agreed.
But I also didn't mind like, okay, without the cage, right? But like them going into a whole different space. I like that part, but I feel like the build of that part was missing as well. Like there were some elements that was missing.
Agreed. Agreed. So yeah, I just thought the final fight scene it left a lot to be desired. But you stated that you felt that there were areas where the film fell short, and that's why you give it 7 out of 10. And we all know we've all gone to school. 7 out of 10 is a C, which is average. Why do you think the film was average?
I think a big piece of it was just Dame's character not being developed as much. As
What
well
would
as
you have
just
liked
like,
to have seen in terms of his character development?
okay, so I like the flashbacks right in the beginning. Like we weren't actually told what happened until a certain point in the film, like between them two. But I also wanted to know like how he even got into boxing, and then I needed a little piece of him in jail too. Like he told us what he was thinking, but I think just his experience in jail, like even just a quick little snippet of like him leaving the jail, like his feelings as far as getting out, something like that.
Right.
But I also think directing and acting in your own film is hard. So, I mean, there was things that was going to be missed anyway.
Right. Understood. What did you like about the movie?
I liked, I don't know if this was the goal, but I liked that they basically made Adonis like the underdog again.
Okay.
In a sense, because like he's on top, he got this company, he owns this gym, you know, he's over here paying for fights, promotion, marketing. And then in a different sense, he's the underdog still.
Oh yeah, because he had been out the game for 3 years. It's like that. I remember I had stopped boxing, and then I went back to the gym and started sparring. I was getting hit with all type of shit I normally don't get hit with. So it's like that. If you step away, and even in fact, like when you're in boxing and you're doing it on a regular basis, you get hit with a shot. It's like whatever. But when you've been out, you're not used to getting hit. Like it makes it feel like the punch is actually harder than they actually are.
Right. I think it was that, like, okay, yeah, he was out of it, but I also think, I don't know if I'm explaining it right, but I also think, okay, his upbringing made him like the underdog. He was smaller, younger, you know, this is that. But I think having Dame come on the screen made him the underdog again, if that makes sense.
Okay. Got you. All right. Any other thoughts?
No, I don't have any other thoughts as of right now.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate you tapping in, sister. Appreciate you tapping in. So let me ask you this. And you've been listening. So what did you think in terms of, and you mentioned, you commented on the fight scene and how, to blame him as if he was engaging in some type of nefarious activity or behavior that would be detrimental to the child's social emotional development. I think to me, it was just beyond me, right? But what are your thoughts on this concept of him coming off like he was emotionally immature, right, unstable, right, so on and so forth? In the scene where he stated, "Oh, they run the household," meaning not only his wife, but also the child was running the household, and he kind of was just there to provide what the financial support, even though they were the ones making all the decisions. Did you kind of get that thing from the film the way I did?
Them arguing, yes, but him saying like, "Oh, they run the house," I feel like that's just something men say just to make the woman feel like, okay, they doing something.
I see. I would disagree, and I would say that because the men I grew up around, including my father, my uncles, the men I associate myself with today, and I've never said something like that, or the brothers I associate with.
Okay, but have they ever said something like, there's another saying that's kind of similar to this, like, oh, she the smart one, like as if like they're not smart too. It's like, oh no, that's all her. Even though it was like a collaborative effort, it wasn't just.
And I get that, but I've never been around men who engage, and maybe this is part of like because of how the people I associate with, but I've never been around a man who engages in self-loathing behavior.
Got it.
I mean, I've never done it, and I don't associate with people who do. Because if I have to boost you up by putting myself down, that's a problem. I could say we are doing this, we running this B, we handling our business, but I would never say, oh man, she the one. I wouldn't even want a woman to say that about me. Oh, he's the one. No. If you have to put yourself down in order to big me up, to me, that's a problem.
Yeah.
I think, to me, it reinforced this idea and this concept of, and like I said, this man is running, as you said, a boxing promotional company, Creed Athletics, or we would presume that he's engaging in more than just promoting boxing, but other sports as well. They have a contract with Showtime Boxing. So what we see, this is the situation in which he's been able to go into the boardroom of corporate America, sit down with CEOs and CFOs and VPs and presidents of Fortune 500 company and negotiate contracts, right? But he don't know how to run his own household. Where the hell they do that at? Where they do that at? So I could go out into the world and be competitive and successful, but I don't know how to run my own home. Where they do that at?
I don't know.
Right. So yeah. Yeah, so Brother Shabazz says when Dane was punching under the arms, was that illegal? It's not necessarily considered illegal, but it's considered dirty, right? Because if you throw a punch, like one of the shots that Dane threw, he hit the dude on top of the shoulder. If anyone is familiar, we know there are a number. Brother Brandon, what's the word? I see you tapping in. Appreciate you, brother. This is another brother out there in California, absolutely, right? But you can hit a person on the shoulder. Mayweather would do the shoulder roll, but I think like he told old boy, man, you ain't built for this. You ain't built like that, right? So I think that was a particular issue. So those of course were my views. And I even mentioned the fact that when his daughter defended herself, when that white girl was bullying her, and every time he made a statement, the mother usurped him and said, well, this is what he really means. Well, this is what we really want to say, right? Reinforcing the fact that he doesn't know how to lead his own family. So I just think it's something to consider. Brother Brandon, what's the word?
Hey, you 1,000% right, because I said the same thing to my wife about the dynamic with the wife when remember when he got punched at the beach by, his buddy who he had to fight. His wife kept agitating him, asking him about some figure from his past. And he was like, look, I don't want to talk about it. And they were definitely trying to allude to there was some type of like sexual molestation or something. And I love the fact that Michael B. Jordan, hold on. I love the fact that Michael B. Jordan didn't take it that route, because there's already that narrative of older black males are molesting younger black males. That narrative is very prevalent. So I'm glad he didn't take it there, but she just was agitating him. And listen, when I'm in my house, if I say, look, I don't want to talk about something, that means I don't want to talk about it. That doesn't mean you keep pestering me and agitating me, and to the point where I get pissed off enough to yell. And then you say, you need to get your itch together, like what she did to him in that movie. Yeah. My wife is actually sitting here, but what I'm saying is like, my jaw dropped at that scene in the movie. Like, this lady just pestered this man, her husband, who's supposed to be the head of her household, who has given her a life that she probably couldn't have gotten on her own. He's multimillionaire, has a successful business. He's like, look, I don't want to talk about it right now. She just keeps agitating him. And then when he kind of says, like, he kind of gets a little bit upset, then she makes it seem like the problem is him. Not the fact that his friend just betrayed him, not the fact that his mom was hiding shit from him, right? The problem was, it was all the way he was looking at everything, and he needs to get his stuff together. I didn't like that aspect of the movie, but I think the movie was great. It was incredible. To speak on the punches, those punches are not illegal. They might be considered a little bit unethical, but they're nothing I have not seen white and Hispanic fighters do in an attempt to beat more physically dominant black fighters. It's always illegal when it's us doing it to them.
Because
but when
it's them doing now, with the situation when he actually need him in the thigh, that was illegal. But typically, like if you're fighting a guy, and let's say, a matter of fact, I remember I had a match with a guy. The dude was smaller, very fast, and they was like, "Listen, you're not gonna beat him in a sprint. You're going to have to beat him in a marathon." And one of the things they would tell you was hit his arms as hard as you can. So in the later rounds, he won't be able to punch as fast.
Defend himself.
He'll be able to take him in the deep
You tire his arms out. And let me tell you something. There's a guy named Lomachenko, a boxer, right? He only has 2 losses in his career. The first loss is to a tomato can Mexican fighter who basically used every dirty trick in the book to beat Lomachenko. Yeah, Salado. The guy wasn't on Lomachenko's level, but the Mexicans celebrated when Salado fought dirty and beat Lomachenko. Why? Because it's boxing. It comes with the territory.
Yep. I mean, and like I've done things like that. When I was in the ring, I was fighting this dude. He was winning. Shit, I did. You know, and they say it ain't a foul unless the ref calls it. I hit him on the hip a couple times. Well, that slowed him down, and he wasn't running around like a goddamn jackrabbit. And I got to his ass.
Listen, how did Evander Holyfield beat Mike Tyson? Headbutts. Nobody sympathized with Mike Tyson. He took an L, and people don't understand.
He did something that was illegal when he threw the elbow, because it's not MMA.
Right, he was throwing the elbow. The thing is, like, people don't understand that this is like why fighters like Floyd Mayweather, they fight the way they fight, because they understand that there's a lot of dirty stuff that goes on in boxing, and to free themselves of that, they develop a strategy that totally eliminates the ability to do dirty things to them, right? Because when you're undefeated, people start trying to pull all kinds of stuff out the woodworks to beat you. But the movie Creed was an amazing movie. Everyone should go see it. There definitely was a manipulation factor in a certain part of that movie, but I mean, depending on what type of man you are, you know, there's going to be some disagreement in certain aspects of it. Like, do you owe somebody who might have taken, you know, not to give away the movie, but do you owe somebody who might have did something that like saved you and cost them, things like that? And in my opinion, you know what I'm saying? The brother, Jonathan, what was the dude's name? Jonathan, what's his name? Majors.
Yeah, I mean,
Jonathan Majors.
He played the hell out that role, though. I was like, bravo, brother, right?
listen, my wife was up in there mesmerized. That brother done played the hell out of every role he's been in.
He has. I mean, that brother
in the past 2 years.
You could tell he went to film school. Like he got his master's in fine arts. You could tell he know what the fuck he doing.
Hey, you could tell that he really has worked on honing his craft. You know what I'm saying? To make himself a leading man. But definitely, I love it because to me, it does have the same kind of dynamic, the T'Challa Killmonger dynamic. Who's right and who's wrong? Do you owe something to the skeletons of your past? Right? But there was a lot of manipulation on the part of women in that movie, especially the mother. Absolutely. You know, and it was real. I love that because it was real. How far do we go to protect our children? And can us claim we protect our children? Can that ultimately put them in positions that are negative or bad? But it was a powerful movie, man. Everybody needs to go see that. And I love that you're doing the review of it because I was supposed to. I even got the damn thumbnail and never did it. But man, it's a great movie.
So let me ask you this. What were your views on Felicia Rashad, his Adonis Creed's adoptive mother, cutting off communication between himself, Adonis and, of course, Damian when Damian went to prison. What are your views on that?
She was out of line for that. She was out of line for that because she doesn't know.
You have to explain to me.
Well, because she was saying that she was basically alluding to the fact that none of what he had done could have been accomplished without her doing that. And the reality was,
where did she say
him and that guy. You got to go rewatch the movie.
Okay.
You got to go rewatch the movie. Because remember, he said, Mom, this is all your fault. None of this would have ever happened if you hadn't hid those letters from me. And then she said, you're right. None of this would have ever happened if I hadn't hid those letters. And she was alluding to the fact, he was alluding to the negative dynamic that developed between him and his friend. She was alluding to the success in boxing and all that stuff. But the reality was she didn't know the context or the nature of the relationship. So she should have ultimately gave him the letters and let him know what was going on. Let him make that decision. Because remember, Adonis didn't come to stay with her till he was older. He was a teenager, preteen. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like she had him since he was a baby.
Hold up. And Brother Shabazz, we're going to get to your question. So she took Adonis in when he was a preteen. This situation happened when Adonis was 14, 15 years old. Now, I would argue that as a parent,
No. She took Adonis in after that situation happened.
No.
Yeah,
she took him in before. She took him in before that situation happened.
How was it before?
Yes.
No, it wasn't before.
Hold on. If you go back to the first Creed movie, she took him in when he was 19 years old. Because in
yes,
Creed
but I
3,
think that
hold on. When in Creed 3, when they show the flashback, he leaves her house. He sneaks out of the house that he's living in with her to what? Go to his boxing match.
Okay, see, I think I missed that because maybe, and also too, maybe I was a little confused because they have the same actor, like the boy who was in the first one. He's in the third one, so I'm thinking
he's in the third one acting as the teenage Adonis Creed.
Okay.
In the first one, he was the kid Adonis Creed. Right? When she took him in, he was a little boy. He was about 9. And this one, he's 14, 15. The third. Now here's my thing. Because she knew the dynamic of the relationship. As a parent, I've done this before. My son was associated with someone that I saw was growing up in the household that was a criminal incubator. I cut off the relationship. You can't fool with them in any way, shape, or form.
But I don't really think that the other guy was a criminal incubator. He was a boxer who literally just was
he stated that he knew he shouldn't have had the gun because he already had felony convictions. And this is something I know because you are in combat sports. I saw your videos, but I used to box. Boxing is a street sport. Most of the guys who box come from the streets, and most of the guys who box, the reason why they don't make it is because they're in the streets. For example, this is a long time ago, maybe about 15, 16 years ago. I was locked up in the county for something, and I was actually in the county with a brother who actually had beat Marvelous Marvin Hagler in the Golden Gloves tournament back in 1976. But I was like, damn, you beat Marvelous Marvin Hagler in the Golden Gloves and the amateurs? He said, yeah. I said, what happened? He said, about 2 months later, I robbed a bank and got caught, did 12 years. Got out, was out 2 months, robbed another bank, right? So a lot of times the reason why people don't make it is because they're engaged in criminal activity. So many people may be unaware that boxing is a sport that has its roots in the street. And there's a great documentary on it entitled Champs, starring 50 Cent, Bernard Hopkins, Mary J. Blige, where they talk about this.
Yeah.
Because what happens is, go ahead, Brandon.
So basically what we're not knowing is that basically Adonis had teenage delinquency issues. Like he was being kind of a little, but at the same time, even if you watch the movie, they wasn't really doing no crime though. They was doing the boxing, they was splitting the money, and he was basically like the assistant of that dude. They wasn't out there doing out for his back.
But Damien's character, Jonathan Major's character, stated, I knew, he said, I already had felony convictions. Now in Ohio, if you have a felony conviction, you can't own a firearm. It's called weapons under disability, right? He stated that. He said, I already had felonies, and I knew I shouldn't have had the gun. So not only are you going to get, you right, so we also know he was on what, parole or probation. You know that if you have a probation, revocation, or parole violation, you're going to do all the time that you have on the shelf, right? Then you also know, hold on. You also know that then you're going to get charged for having a weapon under disability. Then you're going to get charged, at least in Ohio, for the gun specification. So they have a gun spec on, which is a mandatory 3 years. And so what it looks like what happened is, and then you're going to get charged for assault for brandishing a weapon against a person in an aggressive manner. So it looks like they ran all those charges together consecutively with what the time he already had on the shelf. And that's why he did 8 years.
Well, he's in Cal. Hey, shout out to Long Beach though, because that's where I'm from, and that's where a lot of the movie was actually shot. The scene, okay. Yeah, because they say he hurt his shoulder when he was playing for Poly High, and I said, wait a minute, I think this is in Long Beach. And then when they went on the scene when they was on the beach when he punched him, that was in Long Beach, right by my house. Yeah, actually, I was like, damn.
Matter of fact, Brian Banks went to Polytech.
Brian Banks, yep, Brian Banks, Snoop Dogg, Cameron Diaz, all them dudes went to Polytech. But I was like, yo. I think that was a major thing in the movie. Oh, go ahead. Can you hear me now? I said I love how they switched the scenery or the setting from Philly to Los Angeles. I thought that was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And they used Long Beach. They could have used a bunch of other cities. They could have used LA, but they used Long Beach. They gave a little homage to Long Beach, Polytech, and whatever. And it's just a great movie all around. I liked it. The part during the final fight where they kind of switch and it's just them two boxing in the ring, you're gonna have to be a person with a refined film palette for that. You know what I'm saying? That was very powerful. It might have been a little long. They probably let it go a little too long, but it was great, man, because I just think as a black man, it really captured the dynamic that exists between black men. How there's these deeper feelings that sometimes exist between men that are unaddressed, feelings of betrayal. And then it's like, yo, you betrayed. And so I felt betrayed, but I just can't communicate that. So I just say this, and the ego's there. I don't want to ask for help. I'm fine. But deep down inside, I'm holding this resentment. But then I'm just really like, yo, I just want you to give me a chance. And you look, I can't do that. Mm-hmm. In different situations in life. I'm telling you right now, as a black man, and I'm going in my late 30s, I deal with that stuff daily. With my friends from the streets and stuff, they might get out of prison after a long time. That was a true Long Beach, California story right there. That was a true Long Beach, California story where you literally got to ask yourself, do I owe these people who really have my back in the day just because they fell upon hard times? It's a struggle. Millions of black men, women, families are dealing with all over America. And I think that warrants us watching it.
That's very true. That is very true. Absolutely. And I think Adonis was dealing with a bit of survivor's guilt. Right? The fact that he was able to make something of himself and not end up in prison. So hopefully Brandon could tap back in. So what are your thoughts about that, Sister Ash?
About survivor's guilt?
Yes.
I think I'm sticking with what I said about him kind of just being the underdog again and not knowing how to deal with that situation. So kind of what you said, but more on what I was saying.
Okay. And Brother Shabazz said, if someone goes to jail for helping you out, you got to look out. I would agree 100%.
But I think he looked out because he didn't know about the letters. So in his brain, he looked out in the way he knew how.
Well, how did he look out? Because he had no contact with him for 18 years.
No, when he got out and then he was begging Boo Boo for a fight, like a major fight, he gave him that fight.
Right. But typically when you're looking out for someone who gets locked up for helping you, you look out for them by what?
He didn't know. I'm saying from his knowledge base, he didn't know he was getting letters, nothing.
Right, but
yeah, he could have
I understand
more,
that.
maybe
but you do know you could look up a person on what?
Correct.
California offender, you could look the person up and you could put money on their books.
Correct. I don't know. I feel like he was looking out in that regard and he got caught up in his own life. And I think a lot of times that happens too, like out of sight, out of mind. And people get caught up in their own life.
This is true. Very true. Understood. All right. Any other thoughts about the movie? Because you gave it 7 out of 10. And you stated that it was lacking in some areas. What
okay. So even us just right now trying to figure out the timeline, like, okay, more things should have been more clear because the way it was directed, the way it was filmed kind of confused us all. Because me and the guy that was just on here, we literally thought he was like 12.
Well, I knew. I was able to follow the timeline just fine,
But I'm saying, okay, well, it's not just you; it's other people that's watching the film as well. Like, it's just the way it was filmed. It's like missing parts, and the scene that he spoke of, that I spoke of earlier, is like when they kind of changed into a different universe. Like that part was really good, but I think the cage could have been without, and they could have did something else with that. They could have did more with that.
Absolutely. So understood. I understand you 100% there. Yeah, I was like, I thought it left a bit lacking. But yeah, Brother Shabazz says he was repressing the memories and he pushed them out of his mind. That is something they mentioned in the film, that he tried to forget about what took place and what transpired. So absolutely. Very good point. Great point. Any last thoughts regarding the movie?
I thought overall the film was good. I don't know if they will make another one, how they would do it, but yeah, I think it was good overall.
Okay. And I think Brother Shabazz said if there will be a Creed 4, there's a belief that it will involve the daughter, right? The daughter will somehow be a protagonist in boxing. But I did think it was a bit ridiculous that he had to sneak, right, and teach his daughter how to box. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it's just wild. Like,
but it's like, yeah, it was dumb because like the mom knew. Like,
yeah, what are you sneaking for? You're a grown man in your own house with your child.
Like,
I mean, the life of a fighter is a tough life, though. There are fighters that don't necessarily want their kids to go through that same life.
Right. But he also said that he wanted her to learn how to box so she would know how to defend herself.
Right. Yeah.
Right. I mean, I put my son and my daughter in boxing.
Yeah, my daughter's also was in boxing.
You know
she
what I mean?
Wants to move out
but
of
the
it
fact
now,
that, once again, that he had to sneak to do so still implies this concept that even though he's a grown man and he's married, but if you kind of look at some of the undercurrent, this theme in the film of, but in his family, he's treated like he's a child.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Okay, so think about this. Oh, they run the household, not me. He's seen as emotionally unstable, right? And he says, I don't want to talk about this. She's browbeating him like a parent. You're going to let me know this, right? Being treated as if he's a danger to his own child. He has to sneak and do things with his own child, right? This is the behavior of someone who isn't a full-grown adult. You should think about it. When you were living with your parents and you had to sneak and do things that they didn't approve of, correct?
Right. Yeah.
Have you ever snuck and did something in your own home as an adult?
No, you don't have to sneak with your kids. No.
You see what I'm saying here?
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not disagreeing with. I agree with you, but I do think the mother does have authority, even if you run in your house. You know what I mean? She still has authority.
Of course, but I'm not about to be walking on eggshells, sneaking around doing something in my own home.
Right. No, I agree with that. Especially when she already knows she has a passion for it,
Yeah. Right. So, I mean, for example, I remember when I started playing football. So, and you probably have seen some pictures of me online or on my channel I post when I'm at the gym. I wasn't always the size I am now. In fact, when I was in high school, I hit puberty extremely late. So, my freshman year, I was 4'9", 79 pounds. I wanted to play football. Of course, my mother was vehemently opposed to it, right? Of course, my dad is kind of, it's what you know what I mean? So you could understand that. But there was never a situation where, okay, son, if you're going to play, we got to sneak and not tell your mom. I mean, it's just, it just, to me, there was an undercurrent there to where the grown man, irrespective of how successful, competitive he is in the real world, in his own household, he's a child.
Yeah. I think child is too strong of a word. I mean, I still seen authority.
No, and the reason why I'm using that type of language, right, is because when we think about this from a Black masculine perspective, right, a Black masculine critical perspective, but this is how most feminists and even Black feminists view Black men, that irrespective of how old you are, how responsible you are, how many credentials you have, how much success you have had in your personal, professional life, you are still a child in their eyes.
Yeah, they show no deference towards you.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. This is a situation. I was at a Kwanzaa celebration with my children, and they were being a little bit rambunctious, just a little bit. And I was giving them a little grace to do so because the whole entire day I had them doing some homeschooling stuff. So I said, I'm gonna give them a little space to kind of, let the proverbial hair down. Black woman I didn't even know shows up and is like, oh, you're gonna have to da-da-da-da. And I said, hey, I know how to raise my children. I don't need your help. Right? And people say, well, it takes a village. I said, yes, but the fact that you're willing to come to me, someone you don't know, and provide unsolicited support or instruction on how to raise my children means what? That you don't think I know what the hell I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's the theme that I was saying, and I was like, bitch, you don't get motherfuckers that know me know. Like I'm a whole person. I ain't just political Bakari, right? I'm from the real hood, not the rap hood. So even in my career, being a doctoral candidate, right? Going to have my PhD before the end of the year. Still seeing people trying to come at me and treat me as if I'm this immature child who doesn't know or doesn't have the ability to articulate, think, and act in a manner that is representative of becoming of someone who is a father, someone who is professional, someone who is an academic and an intellectual.
Oh, now hold on now. Now you got me thinking. Now, remember when she gave her the liquor, even though she was having the cancer issue, and he said, "You sure that's a good idea?"
Mm-hmm.
Didn't they override him and give it to her anyway?
Facts.
Yeah, they did. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
I think that's a good call out because I wasn't even thinking of it that way. Yeah, I'm glad that you guys are calling that out because I wasn't even in tune with that.
Yeah, it was wild. I'm like, man, what the bleep?
Do you think that like eventually he would have had that conversation with her, like as far as what happened to him, or do you think it's okay to just keep things to yourself?
I mean, I think it depends on each individual person. You know what I mean? But I do think that sometimes you don't have to share everything, right? I can recall in my last relationship, like I have a phobia, right? I never told my former spouse or former fiance what my phobia was. Like she didn't need to know.
Was it a common phobia or it's a phobia that you have?
It's an extremely uncommon phobia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, extremely uncommon. Like it's like you're like, what the fuck? How the hell you?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
I would have to look it up.
Extremely uncommon.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It takes me to the Scarface scene, where he was like, "Don't forget that a few years ago we were in a cage." You know what I mean? And then Scarface, his friend told Scarface that, and then Scarface turned around and he said, "You remember? I like to forget that." You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's like too much remembering puts you in the past. You know what I mean? Sometimes you got to move forward.
In there.
Yeah. And it's like,
that's a great point, brother Shabazz. Great point.
Yeah, so I'm just like all this, like, oh, we got to do this, and you got to tell me this. It's just like I don't know, man. I've been doing good, just bottling up that anger and taking it out in the boxing ring or wherever else, and just moving on from it. So I don't know. I don't think I'm not going to necessarily with none of my women, and I sat down and told them all my things and all my issue and how I don't know about that, man.
Especially like how. Okay, I'm gonna just speak for Black women. But I also think like it's a lot harder to just be forthcoming because how Black men are treated by Black women in regards to their feelings. Like you guys reveal something that maybe not a lot of people know, maybe no one knows, and then next thing you know, y'all get in an argument, and then they throw it in your
up in your
face.
face and use it against
Exactly.
you. My mother and my father have been married 45 years. It'll be 46 years next month.
Ooh,
my mom told me the same thing when I became an adult. You better keep shit to yourself. You bring it up to a woman. And my mom said any woman of any racial ethnic background, they'll throw that crap in your face the first time they upset with you.
Yeah, and I think
that's a reality.
Right. Now, okay, because I usually don't be agreeing. Now, this I agree with you with. Not saying that I do it, but what your mother told me.
It's something that you reserved.
Yeah, like what your mother told me was something that my mother told me as well. Like, you got to have a little mystique about yourself. You can't just be oversharing and then telling people, because people don't have tact. Like, they don't know to just be like, oh, this relationship is done. I'm going to just keep everything to myself because, it's over with. A lot of people will use that against you.
Nah, yeah, that's real. That's real. But but like I said, I don't know. I don't really see. Now, like I said, if I'm sitting down and I'm talking maybe to some type of professional, some type of counseling, some professional work, and then I'm talking about that, and they're suggesting that I do that. Maybe that I haven't done that, but I could understand that. But I just don't really see it. But why do I need to be telling my wife all this stuff?
And maybe she just didn't feel close. I don't know. I gotta help Tessa a little bit because I feel like the scene. Okay, when the mom passes and then they're talking, and he basically said like, "Oh, you're good at sharing your feelings," and then she's like, "I'm not that good at sharing your feelings." That also speaks to what I was saying. Like, women are just more forthcoming with oversharing and telling more about themselves that they don't recognize when it's not as easy for other people, i.e. men.
Well, I don't even know if it's an issue of it not being as easy. I think there's an issue of what? Having enough sense that there's certain things you don't need to share with people. For example, I work in higher ed, right? And I remember this is early on in my doctoral program. And we had some meeting, and there was a young lady who was a practitioner. She had been a director of a identity center at a small college, and she, of course, resigned from that position to pursue her doctorate. And she had mentioned that in her work, she found that in order to create community, because this is a big thing in higher ed about creating community. In fact, they even got a book on it. Let me see if I can find it real quick. What Dr. Terrell Strayhorn, he's one of the key figures in higher education. He wrote a book, College Students' Sense of Belonging, and it's all about what creating community, right? And so she talks about this and said, in order to create community, we need to be vulnerable and share something with the group that is that will make us vulnerable. And I said, I'm not doing that. I don't even know any of y'all. What the hell type of dumb shit? You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
No, yeah, exactly. But that's what they're trying to push now, bro.
Yeah.
I have a question about, what in higher ed, what is the goal as far as creating community? Like, what are they looking to gain to create community?
So there is a belief that in creating community, one, the group will be able to learn together, right? And create this community that is rooted in being descriptive, engaging in critical discourse and analysis, and at the same time creating a culture or an environment that is intellectually curious and oftentimes seen as provocative, right? Also with that, there's a belief that in order to create community, that everyone shares the same values, right? And so higher ed it's a different industry, it's a different space, because a lot of the mindset and ideas come out of feminist thought, right? And so I'm like, I don't know you all. I'm not about to sit up here and share with you all about what's going on in my life. I don't know you. That makes no sense whatsoever, right? And I remember when I first got into my program, and at this time, my fiance and I, we were still together. We were planning to have a family, and I had, had my kids and stuff. So they were like, well, you don't go out for drinks with us, right? After class, I'm like, well, I got kids. I got to get home. I got a family. So
But see, that speaks to a whole nother topic about like how people want Black people in corporate America and in this case in higher ed to be like overly friendly and overly exert themselves. Like, no,
Right.
I have a life outside of here.
Well, they always got to do temperature checks. They want to you know, they want to get you in certain settings. They want to ask you these certain questions.
They want you to be friendly. They want you, because when you're not friendly, then next thing you know, your job on the line. Like they want
because you're
Black people to
mysterious.
do
They don't
more
know how
work.
you're thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and here's the thing, because I've had some issues where I've had even mentors tell me, hey, Bakari, if you were in a relationship with a white woman, or if you were extremely effeminate or homosexual, you wouldn't get the pushback that you get.
Exactly.
I've been told this. I even had a white female professor who was a lesbian tell me, you don't say or do anything that's a problem, but it's the fact that you are masculine and you are articulate and you are a Black man. It makes people uncomfortable because they're not used to being around people like that in this environment. Because most of the men, when you are in higher ed, they tend to be effeminate or homosexual.
Yeah, or they're just like very passive. They don't really stand on things.
Passive,
when the white boys come, white boys or the white girls, they come and they kind of ask this. So, what do you think about the police killing this brother? You know, he shouldn't move. They might not say that, right? But there's these temperature check questions where they want you to basically throw your people under the bus or show indifference. Yeah. When you do that and you pass those vetting tests, you know what I mean? That's like if you were a white woman, that it's an indicator. Like, okay, wait a minute. He's probably on some color don't matter. I don't care about this. I'm apolitical.
Yeah, you a different type of Black person.
That's the type of thing they want because that's safe. Right. They want safe Negroes.
Right.
You know? But let me touch on this really quick before I forget. On the whole thing.
Go ahead and cook.
Yeah, on the whole thing about you know, telling all your deep, dark feelings and all this type of stuff. You know, you got to be careful with that too, because you know, I was telling my daughter this the other day. Victim, the shot in the arm that you get from victim attention can be addictive. That's why you have people where it's like somebody's addicted to victimhood. They're addicted to putting themselves in situations where everything's bad, everything's a mess, and you'll be thinking like, who would get addicted to being victimized? They're addicted to the attention that they get from being the perfect victim and going around and crying and being consoled and all of that type of stuff. So when you make a habit, or you're too easily doing these things and telling these things that happened to you that were terrible and all of that stuff.
Higher ed pushes that a lot, by the way.
See what I'm saying? Now you become addicted to that. You know what I mean? And then it's put you in this victim mentality. That's why you can't too easily be telling these stories and doing all that stuff and making that habit. That's not a good habit. Now, but if it's something where it's necessary, I could kind of see that, you know, like I was dating a woman before. She grew up in Africa, and I was pushing her about reading, because if you're going to have a chance with me, my next children, I don't want to have to do all their Saturday schooling and all that. No, my wife, I want a wife that can do all that. I want you reading. I need you pushing that. I need you doing it just as much as me, if not more. You know what I'm saying? I'm pushing her about that. And then after some time, she opened up about trauma she had in abuse in school related to certain topics that she was struggling with, right? And she was talking about like teachers that would, bring problems in, and they were abusing them. No one was really looking out for them. And it reminded me of the something I actually seen personally with it's a brother, and his mom is standing over him, telling him to try to answer a question, on his math homework. And if he gets it wrong, she spanks him. So it's creating this something around that topic. It's creating this trauma that's kind of creating a mental block. So I could see if you open up in a relevant time and you time it correctly, and you get what I'm saying. I'm not saying you should never open up,
but it's your wife, y'all. Like, this ain't just like random people on the street.
But once again, Sister Ash, as you stated, with a lot of Black women, if you open up, irrespective if she's your wife, your girlfriend, your spouse, your mistress, they would do what? Use it against you.
I stand corrected. Y'all got it.
You said this.
No, I said it. That's why I said I stand corrected.
I don't know. I don't feel like I wouldn't want to open up about nothing. I don't know. I guess I play it by ear, but for the most part, man, I
Yeah,
don't
but
really
wife
believe.
status? I don't know. Wife status?
Man,
Y'all
look,
sister
I just
either.
don't.
That's okay.
I don't. I mean, what are we doing this for? Like, she could open up. I mean, she could talk about what she needs to talk about. I'm listening to that, but I don't just know. I don't know.
I think
I go
see,
ahead.
this is why I think that part of the film was important as far as the feelings thing. I didn't necessarily view him as like childlike. I just viewed it as he was just holding back.
Right, but I'm making the argument that in the movie they try to infer, right, that black men aren't fully grown, and right they have these emotional issues that are representative of a petulant child. Because think about it, when you're dealing with children, you almost have to poke and prod them to open up and tell you what's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. When you got a daughter when she was much younger. I have a son, and like, what's wrong? Come on, you can tell me now. What is it? I don't want to because you
Okay,
deal with that
yeah. If
type of
you put
stuff.
it like that, I guess. You put it
I
like
still,
that.
I still, I'm not fully on where you at. I see it more like what she's saying. I just seen it like this is a classic. These are our typical, regardless of race, distinctions between men and women.
That's
Like,
why I like that it was in there.
yeah, because that's like when they went to the school, the man is like, "Did you win the fight?" And the mom is like, "Oh my God, I don't want no trouble. I don't want," you know what I'm saying? More so than anything. That's just kind of how it is. It's like, wait a minute, we gonna make well, if you gonna fight, we're gonna make sure you win. That's how you thinking.
Right.
And the mom might
Okay,
not
now
want
that
trouble.
part, okay, now the school part was not realistic to me because I feel like if you really a black mom, it's like, okay, how did the
Yeah,
fight go? Did you hit them first? Oh, they hit you. Then who won? Oh, you need to go back there and beat them up, or I'm gonna beat you when you come home. That part wasn't really realistic, but
that's true. Especially with her, she's supposed to be a sister from the hood in Philly.
right. So I'm
That's a
like,
good point.
no, it's
That's not.
did
You're right.
did she win the fight? Okay, then.
Yeah,
Right. And like I said, the other issue was the fact that every time he made a statement, she what usurped and superseded his
Right,
statement on
right,
saying, no, what we really mean is XYZ.
yeah.
right.
I've actually seen that, man. I remember I had like he's extended family, but he's so close. He's like an uncle, you know what I mean? His son is like my brother. And I remember when we would go out, he's like one of those really boisterous, really funny type of dude. So you go out, he's really, you know what I mean? And he'll be just talking and making jokes. And we're at a restaurant, he's saying all this stuff. And then she's just like, look, I know how he is, but we do tip well and we're fine and this and that. So she's trying to tame down the energy that he's bringing.
And
Um,
that's why I like that was added too, because it's always upon the black person to be the one that isn't threatening to be viewed. So I like that they had the different views.
yeah, but should she be in this position? Like that's almost like mother daughter, mother son kind of. No, no, no. What he meant is just like, how? What you mean? What I meant, or what? Why are you qualifying? I meant what I said. You see what I'm saying? Why are you trying to, reframe what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Reframing what she's saying for the white audience.
Right.
I'll tell you what, that would yeah, I've never had of someone try something like that with me. I guess my persona person knows not to, because it would have been a serious problem.
But
Yeah,
that
because
don't
Or to
mean
like,
they
say
what
don't
are
want
you
to
you
though.
even
what the
doing right now?
yeah.
That don't mean they don't want to. Like like I said, I might do something or whatever. I could be out even with my daughter, and I might do something. She may make a face of, your daughter. Daughters let they're not holding back. But I'm saying
Right.
just because they don't do it, that might just be because they know the response you'll give. But that doesn't mean you're not making them uncomfortable with the way you're representing the two of you. See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Wait, what are you talking about?
Okay, I'm sorry. I probably lost y'all. What I'm saying is, she stepped in because his aggression and his views come off really raw. You know what I mean? And she's trying to
No,
tame it and say, like, wait a minute, it's not. We're not going that extreme. I'm trying to. What he means is this, or you know what I mean. So she's
Okay, and
trying
then
to
why do
tame
you
what
think
he's
she was
saying
trying to tame it?
because she feels she's okay. To him, he's correct. To her, she's in a different place, right? So she thinks that the guy is interpreting it to be more than what Adonis thinks it is.
See,
that leads to my
disagree.
point of you trying to make it look like something because you don't want people to view you as what? Threatening.
So no,
Exactly.
to me,
That's
exactly
where I'm
I
going.
saw it as her undermining his leadership. Now, mind you, this is a conversation that happened with a school administrator. Right? A school administrator. All of Brother Shabazz, I'm quite sure you have had conversations with school administrators about your child with your mother, your wife, or your child's mother present.
Yeah.
And if every time you said something, she was superseded what you said and seemingly corrected it, that is disrespectful. It undermines your authority in the eyes of the school.
Yeah, I mean that's bad form, period. Because
ain't no way on God's green earth that shit would have happened to me.
But let's put it this way though. Y'all over there basically arguing in front of the administrator. Like,
no, it would have been an argument. It wouldn't even been an argument.
No, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about that scene. Like, they already know that y'all in disarray because y'all can't even come as a united front. You over here correcting what he's saying.
Right, but this is the thing though, Lumumba. What if she's saying stuff that you disagree with? You're gonna let that ride and let the school
here's the thing, and I'm gonna be real with you, and I'm gonna can back up for this. So here's the thing. One, this is how I handle things. This is how I've handled things. We have a conversation about what we're going to say and what positions we're going to take before we even walk into the building. We do that the night before.
Right. So y'all could be.
So there's never going to be a situation. Yeah, like for example, there was a situation where my daughter was, I think, like in preschool, and there was a situation where she was like 3-4 years old. The teacher showed her some sight words, and my daughter didn't know the sight words, so the teacher just wrote down she can't read. And the mom took umbrage with that. I sat down with her, and she's like, "Well, what are we gonna do?" I said, "This is what we're going to do." I said, "I'm gonna send the director to school. It was a private school. I'm gonna send the director an email. They call them directors, not principals." I said, "This is what I'm gonna say in the email." And then when we had the meeting, we're already gonna have our mind made up on what we're going to do. Period. Right? Facts boyfriend. I don't know who you are. If you want to tap in, you're gonna need a cam up in the queue. And so I stated that, okay, the decision was made, and me providing the leadership, a command decision was, we're going to take our daughter, put her in another school, period. Right? No matter what takes place, right? In the meeting or in the conversation. So that's what's supposed to be done. But I just the way I move, if the woman tries something like that, it would be a problem for her. She would be embarrassed. I don't allow that type of shit to take place. I don't move that way.
So she might as well don't even talk then.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is correct. And like when we had the meeting with my daughter's school, I was the one that did the talking.
Yeah.
But it's also like y'all had that conversation prior to getting in there. So it was like y'all was a united front. That's what I was saying.
Yeah,
but absolutely, we were a united front. So everything I said was what we had agreed upon would be said in the meeting.
Exactly.
I would be somewhere in the middle. I agree with you. Like, we should say that we should definitely have a united front. But at the same time, women can see things, especially with school and especially dealing with other women. They see things I don't see. So I wouldn't want her like not involved actively in the conversation. You know what I mean? Because they could pick up on cues that I'm not picking up on too.
Yeah, but my comments as a woman would still lead to the point that we made together behind closed doors.
Right.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be a rewording. Huh?
Go ahead, Ash. My bad.
So it wouldn't be a rewording. What Tessa's character was doing, she was rewording everything so that conversation meant something completely different.
Mm-hmm.
So if you say, okay, this is very extreme, but this is on my mind. If you say, go jump off a bridge, right? I'm going to add to it, but you still got to go jump off that bridge. Right? It's not going to be, oh, no, you can sit in the car. Like, no. We're not changing what it said.
So yeah, it was just wild. Though it was just wild. Like I said, to me, that was just another example of him being emasculated and undermined, right, in the family unit. So, like I said, when I had that conversation with my daughter when she was in preschool, we had a conversation the night before about what took place, what transpired, and what would be said, right? But there would never been a situation where the person could have showed up and undermined me and said X, Y, Z. And the other thing for me, irrespective of it's women dealing with women, I'm an educator. So I understand the industry of education and how things work. Because I remember when I was having a conversation with my daughter's mom, she's like, well, we need to talk to the teacher. I said, no, we don't. We got to talk to the person who runs the school. We got to talk to the supervisor, the person who makes the pronouncements, not the teacher. You know what I mean?
No, I got you. But see, you're stronger in that area. A lot of men don't have that, may lack that, or you know what I'm saying? It depends. When you in a partnership, they got me using these terms. When you marry, y'all got to play on each other's strengths. So right,
and we weren't even married at the time.
Right.
We were just together.
Right.
But my personality, and people tell you, is I have an extremely strong personality.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's been a benefit, and it's been a strength, and oftentimes it's been a weakness. I wouldn't say a weakness, but it's been an issue for women I've been in a relationship with, because I said, hey, I tell people, if we're together, you represent me 24/7, 365. Don't have me out here looking bad in these streets, because I'll drop your ass like a bad habit. That's how I am. If you embarrass me, it'll be over quicker than you can say, goddamn, go Buckeyes.
Yeah.
Not go Buckeyes. Y'all
Yeah.
heard of that man? You know what? You kind of reminded me. Have you guys heard of that man, Eric Mays? He's in Flint, Michigan.
Yes, I know who you're talking about.
Oh
yes.
my God, they be posting like what he be saying in the council meetings. That man, they do not like that man.
Yeah, I mean,
he's big personality, but he knows the policy. Like he knows what he's talking about.
Right, but the other thing is though, but his behavior is extremely unprofessional. Right? Okay, you know the policy. You're not going to allow people to get over on you in your community.
Then it's not. It just depends on
No. So first off, that's an oxymoron. You can't be unprofessional and then be professional. That's an oxymoron.
No,
that's like being a virgin and a slut.
It's all about the flip. It's all about the flip.
What do you mean it's all about the flip?
Like how do I say this?
Because I've seen videos where he's cursing and screaming at people the whole nine.
Oh, see, that ain't what I seen. Then I stand corrected.
Yeah,
that's not what
I've seen it. I'm like, what? How? This is. I mean,
the specific scene that I saw, I don't know if you've seen. Like, I don't know if you went down like a rabbit hole. I didn't, but the specific meeting was about restoration, and so he was telling the man like, "Hey, we gave you X amount of money, blah blah blah, but you haven't done X, Y, and Z." And then the man kept cutting him off. And then I guess they got to say pointed information or whatever to like basically get the floor again or whatever. And he asked the man like, oh, why aren't you fired? And then the guy basically undermined his intelligence and all that. So I was just like, I feel like they trying to play him like he don't know what he's talking about. But if you're saying he's irate, then never mind.
Yeah, he's been irate. He's been cursing at people, screaming at people, using just profane language like he was a Lil Wayne song. Like, just ridiculous.
What? Not Lil Wayne song. See, I didn't see none of that.
Yes, I'm not making this up. No cap. I
don't put it past
them. Still say that, right? But yeah, like literally. So it's like you have to, like when I'm on the job, I don't talk or act.
But how do he still have his job?
Yeah. Oh, and so part of the issue, and a lot of people argue that maybe one of the reasons Flint has these issues is because of the low expectations. Right, and we're talking about the soft bigotry of low expectations when it comes to how many Black people have viewed Black or other Black people. Right, the lack of accountability. Right, because and we all know this. When you're working for a white organization, a white corporation, you better have your shit together and be professional. When you tend to find people working for a Black organization, they show up late. I ain't got to actually dress in a professional attire. I can act in the way I want. So we see the soft bigotry of low expectations when we are dealing with each other. We don't bring our best when we're dealing with each other. We bring our best when we're dealing with them folks.
Right. Y'all got me thinking though. What were they in agreement on? in that movie? What were they on in agreement?
Who
When they
Tessa and Michael B.
the
Jordan.
wife and
Like throughout the whole film,
Great point.
the only thing they agreed upon was him going to go fight Dane. That's the only thing
I think
saw.
you're right, sis. I think you're right.
Huh. Him going to fight him. Okay. Let me think.
And then the mom wanting the mom to go live with them. Those are the only two things that they were like.
Yeah. That's what it looked like.
It was like all that stuff, but they only really had one fight. It didn't really seem like it was that bad, but I guess they were really like having these disagreement moments the whole time.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
whole
And it's not to say that, you know, a marriage is going to be smooth sailing, but I would tend to believe, and part of this is because I've witnessed a marriage, a functional, healthy marriage. Like I said, my parents be married 46 years next month, in which you would think that if you marry someone, you're going to have the same values, the same worldview, and for the most part, the same perspective, particularly on child rearing. Right now, if my parents didn't have the same perspective on child rearing, I didn't know it. Because anytime my mom said something, my dad said it. If my dad said something, my mom said it. So to see that type of thing, and there was never a time where my mom came at my dad and acted like we need to be protected from our father. Right? And that just really rubbed me the wrong way. Particularly because we know that black men, and we're dealing with black men because it's the black show, black channel, where we discuss black people, black men typically have the family court system weaponized against them based on these fictitious accusations that they're a danger to the child. In fact, if you talk to most attorneys, if they're honest, most women would tell you that oftentimes divorce lawyers would tell them, child custody lawyers would tell them, hey, if you want to get custody, make an accusation of abuse.
Yeah, court
that happened to me.
Most women, and I'm kind of going down a rabbit hole here, but I can do this my channel, right?
Happened to me personally.
When they're seeking to engage in legitimizing parental alienation, they would make the claim that the child that they're afraid the child is going to be abused.
Oh, they didn't do that. I didn't get the child is going to be abused, but
I'm not saying in the movie. I'm just saying, period. This is what a lot of black men deal with.
No,
if they disagree with the woman, if they raise their voice, if they make a pronouncement, if the woman disagrees with, oh, you know what, if you're going to hurt our child, we got to go.
That in the court system is already biased. Like they're already going to be on the mother's side, regardless of what she even say already.
And oftentimes, what takes place is the woman doesn't even have to substantiate the allegations. All they have to do is make a claim. They will come in and will engage in preventive maintenance and say, just to make sure that there's no harm being done, we're going to cancel your parental rights, cancel your access with your child until we do an investigation. You run down there and say that the mother's doing something, they're going to look at you like, get the fuck out of here.
And then the mother don't even have to do all that. She could just be like, I don't want him to have full custody. And then that's that. Like you end up the weekend dad.
I do got to throw this in though. Well, okay. So for me, I actually had to go to court to get custody. You know what I'm saying? I had to do that. And then I ended up getting my custody and I got my 50-50 and everything over time. But I stayed at it. You know what I'm saying? And I would add in terms of like, we talk about what women get when they go to court, but like, how often are we the first ones to go to court? Most of us is on this like honor system. We don't want to use the system and all that type of stuff. You know what I mean? And black men got to get off that.
Get screwed.
Yeah, but we don't. How often you seen somebody go to court and be the first one to go against a woman? Ain't no man really doing that.
But like I said, there's a reason for that, and it's because they know the family court system has been weaponized against them.
Yeah, but see,
reality. It's the same as a lot of men are victims of domestic violence. They don't call the police because they know if they do, the police are still going to think that they're the primary aggressor.
Yeah, exactly. But see, police will show up and give street justice, and they'll just assess the situation for themselves. Sometimes you got to get courts involved. You know what I mean? You got to file reports and do the whole deal.
I understand that, but I'm saying this is the reason why most men don't seek to utilize the family court system because they know that it has been weaponized against them.
Yeah, but this is the thing.
I've gone through the court system, but most rational person is going to say, I'm not going to seek help from an institution that has historically and contemporarily done harm to people who look like me.
Right, but this is the problem with that. Black men, I understand that that's why we are the way we are. But black men have to come out of this. We got to get out of this like no system. Nah, the system is against me, because in the evidence that you're using to say that it's bias against men, that's women using it actively in like them starting it, them going to the system first and then using it against men. But if men were also using the system when necessary and going to them and filing those reports and getting that stuff and getting the opening up cases against these women first, what would it look like in that situation?
I disagree. And like I said, and I'm gonna tell you why, and then we're gonna wrap this up, probably go about another 5 minutes. This isn't a situation simply of women. This is based on men's experiences. I give you an example. I tried to get full custody of my son when he was 9 years old. We had a guard ad litem appointed by the court. My son told the guard ad litem, when I have a problem, I go to my father. He's the one who helps me. I have this document, so I'm not just saying this. I have the actual paperwork to back this up. He said, I want to live with my father. He said, my mother is physically abusive. She curses at me. She can't control her emotions. She kicks and punches me. The guard ad litem still said, I think the child should live with his mother.
Mm-hmm.
So what we talking about?
No, I feel you. No, I feel you. I get what you're saying, but I was saying in terms of, you were saying that they're making false allegations and doing things like that. And I'm saying that if you start out with the system first, you have an advantage against the person that the state is opening up in a case of.
No, you don't. I know, because I've done that. No, you don't. Mm-hmm. No, you don't. And I'm speaking from experience. Mm-hmm. And this may be anecdotal, but I used to be part of the Montgomery County Fatherhood Initiative. You do not.
Mm-hmm. And in which context are you talking about? Family law?
I'm talking about family court.
Yeah. I mean, in family court, typically, I don't think you really have a chance to.
I've seen.
I was thinking more in terms of. I think we got into this.
I've seen cases. This is no cap, where the woman was homeless, on drugs. Father was stable, had his own home, was making 6 figures, and they still wouldn't give the child to the father and said, we're going to allow the mother to keep custody. And I could pull this up off of YouTube and show it to you.
What state is this?
This was in, was this in Michigan? I think it was in Michigan.
No, I mean, I'm not going to doubt that.
And the father was the one who filed the motion.
Yeah, I'm not going to doubt that the courts are biased. I'm not going to doubt that.
So it's like, once again, why would I file the motion, pay the money,
you can't
pay a lawyer to end up getting screwed with no Vaseline? Shout out to Ice Cube, right? Literally.
I mean, what else you gonna do?
For nothing.
What else you gonna do? Not file? You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. That's why most people say, you know what, I might as well not even deal with this, because at least I know I'm getting screwed, but I'm not giving somebody my money to get screwed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I hear you, but I'm just saying.
I mean, it's one thing to be assaulted.
You still have to fight.
And it's one thing to be assaulted. It's another thing to be assaulted and you give someone the petroleum jelly.
No, I hear you, but in the end of the day, what's the solution? Don't file.
Well, I think the solution is, I think
that happened for him. But I know a lot of people. I got my half custody.
Hold on, you asked me a question. I think the solution for most men nowadays is not to have children.
Yeah, but now that's basically like what do they call that thing? Eugenics.
I understand that, but I mean, you from a man, but you have to think about this from the perspective of, why would I have a child that I have to financially support, but I'm unable to raise?
That's why I'm not having my next children in this country.
You see what I'm saying? And that's why most men are like, hey. And then Dr. C. Hassan Johnson did a great show on this where he talks about where we're seeing women divorcing men, they have children with the men aren't doing anything wrong, and they like just on eggshells hoping the woman doesn't wake up one day and say, I don't want to be married anymore. And then if they
I've seen
the house, the car, the kids, and everything.
No,
and the guy has done nothing wrong.
I've seen a woman.
And what took place was what led to this was the no-fault divorce. Now, many people argue Republicans, they're pro-family, but it was when Republicans had dominated Congress and had control of the White House They were the ones who ushered in legislation to create the no-fault divorce.
Right.
And once they did that, all hell broke loose.
No. I hear that. I mean, like I said, the laws are, and that's really my issue, because people talk about all this stuff, all this red pill passport bros, blah 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 blah. And there's people who don't like they have issues with the women, whatever. But it's like, my issues is not the women per se. Of course, there's issues with the women, but we know that they're coming from bad incentives in the structure of the system. It's not like the women here. Women are women at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? But the system and the incentives of this system are really what's causing all these problems.
Right. So basically, you're talking about incentivizing bad behavior.
Yeah, exactly. You just get to get away with it. You know what I mean? You could just go and make something up on somebody. You know, look, I tell you, I'm in a situation. These people, they've been married for, 20 years or something like that. Dude's paying all the bills, taking care of everything. She decides to go and file. I don't know, they were arguing about something. She goes and files to get a restraining order. And they kick this man. They give him 15 minutes to get out of his house. And he has to just find somewhere to go, even though he don't have family there. And then they order that he has to pay the mortgage, even though he can't be at his house after he loses in court, which is really just one judge's opinion. It's just one judge's opinion that sees cases like this all day. And for whatever reason, he has his own biases. So he unilaterally makes a decision on the case. And then the way the proceedings work, this is the way the proceedings work. The person that files the case, when you take it to court, the everything they wrote down in the paperwork is the only thing you could discuss, right? So if they tried to kill you the week before, if it's not in that paperwork, you can't mention it. You can only refute what was put in the paperwork. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only thing that you can talk about, and then it's a unilateral decision from a judge. The guy loses, he gets banned out of his own house for 5 years, even though his child is there. I think 16-year-old child or something, and he has to pay the mortgage and he has to do his own thing, right?
Yeah.
So fast forward. She drops it, allows him to come back home. About a year and a half later, does the same thing again, gets him kicked out of his house again.
Right.
False allegations.
False allegations. So yeah, I'm telling you, it's wild, man.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you got to be careful who you're dealing with, right?
But a lot of times you don't even know the person's like that, man. Like for real. My best friend, he went through that with his wife. They were together for 15 years and married for 6. And then all of a sudden she just popped up and was like, you know what? I don't want to be married anymore. I'm out of here. I'm taking the kids and I'm gone.
Right. And then, they sitting around watching this stuff, like you're doing your job, you're doing what you was taught, especially these Gen X men, these older whatever, you taught more of traditional, you taking care of it, whatever, and then they sitting around watching all this garbage, all this propaganda that's out here, turning them against you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Kevin Samuels talked about that. Oftentimes women will have families, but they're watching the propaganda on TV or influenced by social media, particularly Instagram, and they believe they're missing out on something.
Yeah, there you go.
This is real. I've even experienced that in a relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this isn't hyperbole. This isn't conjecture. This isn't a situation where people are speculating. We're talking about lived experiences that Black men have had in relation to trying to build and create families.
Yeah. No, but I agree with you that the courts are biased, but at the same time, I know, and Black men have this anti-system. I ain't telling on nobody. I ain't about to do that. I had a friend of mine. He had 2 children, from 2 different women or whatever. And then one of at the same time, right? And one of the children he was able to see, the other one, the mother wouldn't cooperate with him. I told him, this was after what happened to me happened. And I told him, bro, you got to find her, get her served, and start taking her to court. Mm-hmm. And he was like, nah, I'm not putting my kids in the system. I don't want to put my kids in the system and all of that, right? And it's not that because he had his other daughter and he was doing something with he was doing stuff with his other daughter. He was at the house, he was cooking, doing he was taking care of his other daughter. He had issues in his life, but it wasn't like he was some deadbeat that didn't want to deal with his kid, right? Mm-hmm. But then when it comes to the other one, he's like, oh, I don't want to put her in the system, so I don't want to do that. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. This is the type of stuff I'm talking about. I'm like, look, man, even though the system been against you, the only option you have, unless you're gonna leave this country, is to deal with it and work with it and work within it. You know what I'm saying?
You have another option. And the option is you could just not deal with it at all.
No, but you live here.
You have an option. You can say, all right, if that's the game you want to play, then bye.
Oh, you saying that's an option. You're right. I stand corrected. That is an option.
Because I'm gonna be honest with you. Based on my experience, going through the court system has been an exercise in futility. I spent tens of thousands of dollars. If I went back, I'm like, I ain't doing that shit no more.
So hold on, you didn't get custody? Now he wasn't trying to get full custody, just partial custody, or at least visitation or something.
Like I said, based on experience,
right,
can state it is an exercise in futility.
Nah, man, they doing y'all wrong. You got to leave Ohio or something. Well, I guess your kids are already here. But I will say, I got screwed. I would advise
people all the time, like, and the only way if you live in America that you can protect yourself from this type of stuff is to not have a child at all.
No, you had them child.
I mean, I've seen situations in which, like I said, being a facilitator at the Montgomery County Fatherhood Initiative, men are in a relationship. The relationship is going great. They sit down, plan to have a family with a woman. They have family. They get married. Next thing you know, the woman starts being cantankerous, starts acting like she's running the show, speaking down to the man, right? And just the whole flips the script. I've seen these type of things, and I'm talking about men of different racial ethnic groups coming into that center and sharing the same story over and over and over again. White man, Arab man, Latino man, Asian man, Jewish man.
Right.
Matter of fact, I remember there was a young lady, I was talking to her. We were just talking, never went on a date, did anything. And she was telling me how she had went through a divorce. She was a hairstylist, but the father wasn't paying child support because he left her the house and was paying the mortgage. And there was a situation where the kids were with the dad, and he went out drinking the night before and came home, and right before they was getting ready to go to school, and he was still drunk. So she was like, oh, he's being a bad father, so I'm going to take him to the cleaners, and I'm going to get a lawyer and take him for everything that I can. And I said, well, what type of woman are you? Your focus should be on him becoming a better father, not how much money you could get out of him.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. But it's the fact that you could just push a button, that corrupts you. That power corrupts.
Yeah.
But I got screwed on the child support, right? Which thankfully I don't pay now. I did some stuff to, I had to do something to get out of that, right? But now I don't have to deal with that. But I will say that I did get the custody. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't want to say anything to discourage any man listening to this. I would say still go for it. You know what I mean? Still go for it. Now your situation where you're trying to get full custody, that's a tougher situation.
Right, but most people would say, oh, you don't want to pay child support, so you're a deadbeat. But they don't understand or realize, hey, you're going to be financially supporting a child that you're unable to raise. Like, if you don't have full custody, no matter, irrespective of what amount of child support you're paying, you have no say-so regarding what school that child goes to, what type of medical procedures they go through. You don't have any say-so regarding what the neighborhood they live in, who their friends are, anything.
Yeah. No, look, this was what happened to me, bro. So
check it. Child on your taxes. I mean, it's a raw deal.
No, but check it. So this first, right? Because it's the way the child support work based on the percentage you have the kid determines how much you pay. So at first I couldn't even find her for a while. So I had to track her down, pay somebody to serve her and find her, and I finally got her or whatever. And then they at first were basing my child support after you're like hiding my kid, then my child support is like based on me not having any time, right? So then when I get more time, it eventually got to the point where I had half custody, but I was at Target at this time, so I was the manager flowing the early morning trucks, so I had to get in at 3:30. So if you look at a calendar, right, it's 30 days on the calendar. I had my daughter for 15 of them. But because I had to drop her off at night sometimes when I had to float a truck, they would give her that time, and that made 50-50 really turn into like me having 33%, even though I had her half of the days, right? So I was getting done where I'm taking care of her half custody, but I ended up paying altogether $1,031 each month coming out of my pocket going to her. And then I would get my daughter, and my daughter would have to be with me. And I had to pay for all her food, everything we're doing, gas, all that stuff.
Yeah,
right?
that's another thing people don't think about when you're paying child support. I'm gonna can back up real quick. When you're paying child support, they're taking 20 to 25% of your check out before taxes and other deductions, before they take out for retirement, before they take out for Social Security, before they take out for federal taxes, etc.
No, and
right?
then look, and then some of us have student loan garnishments coming out too.
Right, and then you're in a situation where when the child is with you, you still have to feed, clothe, house them. So it's really a situation where you're going to be destitute. And here's the thing: people say, "Well, get a second job." Child support in Ohio ain't no joke. If you get another job, they will start taking more money.
That's more money.
Child support in Ohio, they want to audit every 3 years. So they look at your tax returns and say, "Oh, when you put you in child support, you were making $50,000. We saw you when you got another job, you were making $75,000. So now we're gonna start making you pay child support as if you're paying $75,000. So the more money you make, the more money you take. You never get out the hole."
Yeah, no, that was crazy. I was just like, bro, so I'm getting garnished on this. Then I got to pay all this. Then I got to do this. It's like she coming to my house. We sleeping on a pallet on the floor in a room I'm renting with some weird white lady because I ain't barely got no money left after all that.
Yeah, you can't even
she go into a house.
Yeah.
She over there with a house.
I saw you wanted to tap in.
Okay, I have a question. Y'all probably already said this. So when y'all pay child support, y'all can't claim y'all child on taxes?
You cannot. You cannot claim a child on your taxes just because you pay child support.
Wow.
Nah, but you got to get
money go to the mom.
Yep,
you do. But this the thing: if you get half custody, y'all take turns. If you get half custody, but for me,
like every other year.
Yeah. But for me, we got into like this. We was fighting about that, and you know, it was like this big thing. And then, you know what I mean? I at the time, I was gonna do it, and then, you know, I ended up like letting it go eventually. You know what I mean? And I was like, you know what, whatever. Once we got some level of peace, I was just like, I just kind of let it go because I came up with something else. But I was just like, bro, I'm working these jobs on the books. Then everything I make is getting hit, and then I'm trying to do that. I was like, bro, this shit don't make no sense. Then the more money I make, that's just more I'm paying. And I'm like, oh, man, I'm over here struggling.
And women know that.
My kids.
You see what I'm saying? Women know this stuff. I mean, I remember Dr. Tessa Johnson, and I hope you all check out his channel and subscribe. He talked about how he hired a financial accountant, and there was a black woman, and the woman said, I have girlfriends who know how much you're going to make in retirement. That's the type of stuff they're on. When you have women, their whole mindset is going after a man's resources. So, like I said, if your man has a child and he doesn't get custody, he's screwed. He has no say-so regarding how the child is raised. He can't even file the child on his taxes. And the more money he makes, the more money child support takes.
Yeah. No, like I said, and then I say, if it's cool now. We have a great thing going now the past few years, so I will put that in there. But it was hell in the beginning. It was hell in the beginning, and it's like it shouldn't. I shouldn't have to go to court and get you served for you to let my own kid. You know that's just ridiculous, man. And then now think about it. Now, what if I would have just did what you were saying, Lumumba, and just said, you know, F you and that kid. You see what I'm saying? Now my kid would have suffered. You know what I mean?
And here's the thing I always tell brothers about that. Don't allow yourself to feel bad about a decision that woman put the child in. Because a lot of times what will happen is, and we even have a lot of simps out there like Judge Mathis, right, who try to make men responsible for decisions that women make that put the child in a precarious situation. I saw a episode of Judge Mathis where it was a white couple. The guy was paying child support. Right, he had his own place. Mom has her own place. He's paying child support, and somehow, mom couldn't keep her lights on and you know pay her rent and everything. So the judge is telling him, "Well, why didn't you pay the rent in her home?" And he's like, "Because I can't afford to. I got to pay my rent, pay child support for her, and pay her bills." I was like, "What type of sense that make?"
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't dawn on people to say, well, if this woman cannot financially support her child, the child should just go live with the dad. No. People like the simp like Judge Mathis, and Judge Mathis is a simp. Most men who were raised by single mothers are simps, right? What tends to happen is what his mindset is, no, you just keep the process of having the mother extract your resources.
Yeah, but they don't really see, they only see the woman, they don't really see the man like that. They're not really hearing you out. You know?
You're there to simply what? Be a mule. You're supposed to work yourself and allow what the women and the children to just take your resources.
I just think you should at least make that attempt to fight with the courts, right? And if after that you having a bunch of issues, you know what I'm saying? I can see what you're saying, to just be like, all right, whatever, you just let it go. You know what I mean? But you should make that attempt.
Based on my experience, you give me and I'm just like this with women, period. You give me any problem for any reason, I'm done with your ass. One strike and you out.
I mean, but come on now, Lumum. You don't think that's a little extreme?
Any problem. So I give an example. There was a situation where this was a minute ago, but I was supposed to chop it up with this sister, and she was older than me. And what ended up taking place and transpiring was we were going to go to dinner. We set a date to go to dinner. So she tells me, like, oh, well, we're going to have to cancel because it's cold outside. So, motherfuckers, wintertime. We already knew that. So, you know what? Lose my number.
Mm-hmm.
I said, you being cold outside and keep your ass from going to work?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have time for this stupid shit. You're showing me that you're pretentious. This is only going to lead to more problems down the line. I'm good.
I feel you on that one. But I think once you move past like a certain vetting stage, you still hold that same mentality. Like once you kind of get some commitment.
Absolutely.
Or at least you're getting closer to that. Okay. Because there's gonna have to be some problems.
I just don't play that, man.
You can't have a perfect situation where
I know that, but I'm talking about someone that's being problematic. I'm not talking about things happen.
You're talking about what, like intentional?
I'm talking about someone being unwilling to be cooperative.
Right.
I'm talking about someone creating problems. Because a lot of modern women tend to manufacture problems to get attention to make themselves feel like they're important.
Mm-hmm.
They got time.
Yeah, they keep watching all this drama. They watching this. This is what they want to live up to. So
yeah, I that's not my thing. I have no problem being by myself at all.
Yeah, I don't either, but I do want some more kids. So that's the thing for me. That's why
I think part of the thing for me is when I was younger, I was a Casanova.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I've had so many women. I had enough for 2 lifetimes. So it doesn't bother me now.
No, I had enough too, but I do want them with them kids. So that's where I got to come up with something.
How many kids you want?
I mean, maybe like 3, 4, 5 more, something like that. I only got one, and I don't have no sons. No sons. I got one daughter.
Got you.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I have one son and one daughter, so I'm like, I got everything covered. I'm good.
Yeah. Nah, maybe like 3 or 4 more.
Yeah. My son's name is Amir. My daughter's name is Aina. So I say I'm covered from A to Z.
No, you good.
That's cute.
I feel like you need more than 2 though, man.
No, I'm cool. 2 is good enough.
Ain't there a limit that you can claim on your taxes? You can't be having all them kids.
No, but look, where I'm gonna be having the kids to get it on, it don't cost that much.
Yeah, you going out the country.
Yeah, I mean, it don't cost me that much. I could just do it like that. It won't cost me too much. But the thing is, I don't know. I just want a couple of each. That way, I have 2. I got one son, and he end up doing something crazy. I got to disown him. I got another backup. I just need a little more numbers than 1. Well, my daughter, she's gonna turn out good though.
I appreciate everybody for tapping in. We're gonna log off once again. Appreciate everyone taking part in providing a great review of the movie Creed 3, the #1 movie in America. If you haven't seen it, make sure you check it out. Also, make sure y'all subscribe to Dr. C. Hassan Johnson's channel. He is one of the progenitors, foundational progenitors of Black male studies, right? So definitely check out his channel. He's always dropping jewels on there. I follow him. I've learned a lot from him as well. Until next time, y'all know what to do. Always bet on Black. Peace.
Yeah, peace.